cool.
This is the KoperCrabb Podcast.
I'm Cheney Crab.
I am Naveen Copperweiss.
If you would like to buy KoperCrabb merch, then go to www.kopercrabb.bigcartel.com. If you want to buy merch from our band, ENTHEOS, then you can grab that at ENTHEOSstore.com. Today on the podcast, our guest is Thomas Leon, our comedian, podcasting friend who we met at a metal show, which is kind of funny.
See, because I think I met you at stand-up.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And we're both right.
Yeah,
We're both
it was a
right.
metal show that also was an open mic, and I think y'all were more talented than us that night. Were y'all playing?
No, we were just there.
We didn't play.
I see.
Yeah, because you got there like toward the end of the show, right?
Yeah. I think it was winding down. I was outside waiting for all the scary people to leave, and then I showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, it was this band from California called The Last of Lucy was playing. What was the name of the bar? I can't remember.
Twin Kegs 2.
Twin Kegs, yeah.
Yeah, they're closing actually.
That's what I've heard.
I heard.
They've incubated comedy for like 6 years. They were the only open mic open during the pandemic. And then, well, there's one other that shouldn't be mentioned. But yeah, it's a beautiful spot where a lot of crimes, I think, occur.
They had one metal show and that was it.
Really?
Shut the venue down.
Must be.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
That's
kidding. I
why.
don't know.
Yeah, no, they're
That's why they're like, we've drawn in the Satanists
They did
now.
that.
It's over.
One metal
It's
show.
The
over.
next morning, it was just circled by Christian ladies praying, like fucking splashing
Shut it
holy
down.
water.
I actually really liked going there. The
Yeah.
drinks were like
So
next
cheap.
to free.
Yeah, dude,
Like
$1.50
$2.50.
PBRs.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll get fucked up there. And the bartender will be like, yeah, I think it's $4. I'm
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, they had a cat. They had a bar cat, too.
And they had
Yeah,
a
the bar cat's the coolest. When I'm around it, I'll shove it now in the pool table. There's a little, like, where you get the white ball at the pool table. I just push him into the little box. And then he pokes out, and you can kind of, like, play with it with, like, your finger, and he'll kind of, like, swipe out through it. It's very cute.
Wait, he pokes out of the
little hole, yeah.
In the on the pool table.
No,
where you
when
get the ball-
retrieve
the ball
it, yeah, on the
okay,
sidewall, yeah.
Oh, got you.
Yeah.
That's
Just,
really
put 'em
cute.
in there. Yeah, that place is special, and it's shutting down, which is sad. There's a lot of like open mic comedy is so fragile that because no rational people want comedy in their place.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like a
definitely.
show, sure, but an open mic where like a homeless dude might take a shit on stage. Like
Yeah.
like at least with music, you know someone's bad because they can't play the instrument. Like you're not sure if this guy's a genius or out of his mind for like 45 seconds. You're like, but he's not gonna just hand you the microphone, you know. So
Right,
that's a
like-
beautiful place and it's closing. So
Dang.
So that night that we went to was an open mic that happened every single week, right?
yeah. And I don't know why y'all stayed, but y'all had like a good time.
I think we were
right?
just hanging out.
Well,
'cause the
didn't we
drinks
meet
were
you?
$2.50.
We met you before.
Yeah, before
the
it started,
show.
I convinced you to stay. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, trust me. And
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
lying the whole time.
Yeah.
Which also you had the Kill Tony thing though. So
true.
we started talking, and I do like I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest comedy fan, but I'm a huge comedy podcast fan.
Yes.
I listen to a ton of podcasts, and
Cheney
Kill
knows all
Tony
the inner workings of
Everything.
of comedy.
Yeah.
because of podcasting, not
Oh, and
because
it's all
I'm
the
a
same too, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I think there are a lot of things that we have in common, like the metal, becoming a metal band, doing the thing, touring around. Like we have a lot in common with comedians. So I've always just been fascinated by that whole scene.
Yeah.
But so when you started talking about Kill Tony, I was like, all right.
No, then
And-
I was like, dude, I fucking recognize that guy.
Yeah.
Because we watch Kill Tony like every week here.
Yeah, I've been recognized like probably like 40 times in town.
Yeah.
And it's like the most random. Like I'll be out at a bar and it's never like attractive women, you know.
Yeah.
It's always like some guy that's like on his own at the bar. And you're just like,
like,
I know you, and it's like, okay, I need you to leave. I'm trying to talk to a hot chick. But yeah, I did Kill Tony. It was a lot of fun. We were talking about this a little bit before, but like I rewatched it I rewatched it yesterday, and I watch it like once every 6 months or so, just to like re-understand what I've done to myself, because like stand up, for any of y'all who don't know, like stand up is like, it's literally talking with no filter and hoping it's funny. And Kill Tony is a huge podcast that like more than 1 million people watch now.
It's insane.
And you just get eviscerated by, it's like just hordes of YouTube comments about like, that guy's definitely gay, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, pal.
And then it's kind of like you're the shark bait. Like they kind of want you, the panel kind of wants you to do bad. And then just so they can tear you apart.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed that sometimes like the regulars will do what I would consider to be like worse than someone out of the bucket.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
then Tony like won't be paying attention, and he'll be like, "Oh fuck, that was great, we killed it again." And then I'm like, "Dude, if a bucket person, like someone who gets pulled out of the bucket, did what they just did, they would have just got like crucified,
Eviscerated. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a weird dichotomy of there's two things at play. One thing at play is like, what is Tony and the panel's perception of you? That's going to color how the interview goes. And I'm not an ugly person. I'm not saying I'm like super hot, but I'm not ugly, and I'm pretty reckless. And I think the combination of that like creates a certain like personality that either gels or doesn't with the panel. And I knew that going into it. And so I felt like in the movie Gladiator, there's a scene in Gladiator where the old Gladiator is talking to Maximus about what to do, how to gain his freedom. And he said, win the crowd and you'll win your freedom. And so like Tony is Joaquin Phoenix, being like, kill this bitch.
Yeah.
And like, but if the crowd is chanting Maximus, Maximus, then you can't die. And so, and I'm kind of a crowd work comic too. Like I'm not great at crowd work because the local scene kind of discourages it. So there's not a lot of opportunity just to practice it. But I am on a show March 1st doing crowd work only. So if you're interested in it in Nashville.
Where's that at?
It's at Third Coast Comedy Club.
All right, we should go.
Yeah, we have to go.
Oh my God,
We're
please
there.
come.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
come. Watch me say crazy things.
I actually really like crowd work comedy. I don't know how comedians feel about it, but
I do too.
it's really
I
funny.
think it can be great, especially in real life. Like it is cool to see that comedian audience interaction. So it's like breaking the third wall, and I enjoy that about it.
Were you
And
at the
it's-
Eric Griffin
it's
show?
not scripted.
But
No, I wasn't there.
Because he did like, I think it was like 45 minutes of just like, all right, what's going on over here? Like, what's up with this table? And it was like the funniest part
Dude,
of his
crowd work-
fucking set. It was so funny.
Crowd work gets shit on, but it is one of the most impressive things. Like there's two levels to it. Like one level is like, hey, are you guys a couple of douchebags? It's like just like these. It's premeditated, and then the other is this investigation. It's like, what do you do? Oh, you're a carburetor mechanic. Like, what the fuck is a carburetor? And then you're all of a sudden you're in this weird new space that no one going there tonight, the performer included, thought they'd be in.
Yeah.
And that is shared and never to be replicated is special. I saw the most impressive crowd work I've ever seen was this comedian named Ian Bagg. He's like this British guy. You know Ian Bagg?
Yeah.
He did Zanies, and the next night he did a local show, and he was almost autistic. I didn't know the guy, but when I was around him, he was just like very standoffish, like not very charismatic. And then he went on stage, and it's 60 people, 8 to 10 wide, as many rows deep. And he spends the first 5 minutes talking to the two ladies up in the front left, and no one's laughing. And if that was me, I'm an open mic comedian who's getting stage time now. And so I do everything in 5-minute bits. So it's like for 5 minutes, if I didn't get a single fucking laugh, I'd commit suicide. And he's doing an hour and he's not getting any laughs for 5 minutes. Everyone's just awkward and like, what is happening? And then he finally got a laugh with these two ladies. And then he moves on to the next group. And after 3 minutes, he gets a laugh. And then he moves to the third group. And after 1 minute, he gets a laugh. And then after that, I swear to God, it is laugh after laugh after laugh after laugh with everything he said. And it's this idea that you have to like trust yourself to establish the relationship over time. And if you don't waver, you're fine. Yeah. It's all about that. And it was a profound lesson in like crowd work or whatever, because Yeah, I mean, you get 5 minutes and sometimes everyone's tired and no one's listening to you, and you do this joke that last time you told it crushed, and now they're like, what?
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's so fun. But
Yeah, honestly, doing comedy to me is like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, the most intimidating thing
karaoke
possible.
is fun.
Really?
Oh my god.
Karaoke?
Dude, if I have to sing
me too.
words.
Me too. I got over it though. I did it. I did
did
karaoke
karaoke?
because I found the perfect song in my range.
What is it?
It's Hank 3, Country Heroes.
Okay.
So I was like probably 10 to 15 drinks deep.
Oh yeah, it was.
And I was like,
late.
let's fucking go.
It was
And
2 o'clock.
We actually knew the bar owner, and they were giving us free drinks and stuff. And he was doing the karaoke.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, and I'm looking through the book, and I'm like, dude, I want to do karaoke for the first time in my first and only time. And then I'm like, you just have to go on YouTube and just like play. And he like went on YouTube and just played the song for me, found the karaoke version or whatever.
And you ripped it?
Oh, I hella ripped it. It was great. It was fun, dude.
I love doing screaming karaoke because I know that if I do a screaming song, that I'm gonna go up there and blow some people's minds.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
'cause, yeah,
I'm
you'd
just
be
like
good at
I have this in my back
Yeah, I
pocket.
know. Okay, so
I
then
can just do that.
Then Cheney gets up there.
I got
and
up
is
after him.
Literally everybody in the venue is crowd surfing her, and like it's,
I was kissing babies
Yeah, it's
after
like-
my
I'm like,
set.
okay.
Baby
yeah,
doing
mine
it at the
sucked.
karaoke bar.
It appeared.
It was
Just
Iowa,
so I
dude.
could
It was
kiss
deep
it.
in Iowa.
I pushed it out.
It was deep in Iowa, bro. There was
Yeah, you never know. You know,
that's wild.
toddlers, babies.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to hear your take on watching comedy. Because to me, I'm either like, that's funny, or I have two thoughts. That's funny, or man, I would hate to be up there.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately what it is for sure.
Yeah.
That's ultimately like I just rewatched one of my very first performances accidentally. I was cleaning out my phone for storage and I saw the video and I was like, oh, oh my God, dude, I got sick to my stomach. Like the way my voice sounded, the things I was choosing to talk about, like I had this whole bit about drowning puppies and I was like, that's not gonna work. Like what was
Yeah.
I thinking?
Right.
But yeah.
That is a big thing, is the way your voice sounds and how you're going to deliver the jokes. Because some comedians, their voice is just funny. So I never understood how you come up, like you have to come up with jokes, but then you also have to come up with like a cadence or, you know, or however you're going to do that, right?
That's what's fascinating is like, I think the cadence is natural. Like there's a certain rhythm, like Richard Pryor is my favorite comic, and there's almost a musicality to the people that I enjoy the most, where it's like, even if you didn't speak English, you would feel a rhythmic nature to it that you would probably laugh. You're like, why am I laughing? I don't know Japanese, but they have you in that hypnotic kind of like arrangement. And then you hope that like your writing is actually really funny. But yeah, it just takes a lot of like reps to like learn what your voice is and like what you want to talk about, and like the audience is always teaching you. Like
I bet.
Yeah, it's like the metaphor for like musicians, they practice and then they take what they've finished and they bring it on stage, whereas like a comedian is like you're tuning the audience in real time. So it's like the audience is the instrument. They hand you the instrument the day of, and not only do you have to play a song, but you have to tune it first and be like,
Right.
and then if they're with you, then you can play the song and then you can get the feedback and be like, oh, okay, that's a good song. Or,
I think we've done more of that as we've been playing more and more shows. Like when you first start in a band, you're more just practicing and you're like, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Like I'm just going to go up there and do my thing.
Yeah.
But then after you do so many tours and play so many shows, you kind of start to notice what works and what people vibe to and stuff. And you're like, maybe we should do some more of that. So, I mean, I think there is a little bit of crossover there.
Yeah, well, there's always something different as well, because, you know, you guys will go and open for other people. We do the same exact thing. We'll be put on tours where we're playing in front of audiences who have never heard of us before.
That's very true.
So it's like you learn something from every different kind of audience. Just being in a different area, it's a different audience. You know, some people, like when we're on tour in Europe, for instance, there are places in Europe where it's like they're watching theater, so they won't react.
It's called Europe.
It's called Europe.
Well, those bad vibes.
But it's like, you know, they're reacting like they're watching theater. They're not going to mosh and crowd surf and do crazy shit and freak out the same way that they are going to. Americans freak out.
Party,
it's way different. So it's just you get out there, you play in front of audiences, you see what they react to, and I feel like it is similar in the same way. However, we do have things that we've rehearsed.
Like, and I'm sort of hiding in a way. Like, if the show just goes totally shit, and I can tell everybody
how you feel.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, I'm still good at drums back here, so whatever, fuck it.
Totally.
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, just when I'm watching comedians live, I'm just like amazed by it. Even at that show that we saw, you were hosting and all those comedians and stuff. Some of them were really funny.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I love it. It's just such a fun time.
It's a weird thing because it's like it's stream of consciousness in a way. It's almost like a performance art. Like music is like you've premeditated and you're delivering this thing.
Yeah.
Like stand up is like, okay, I have this chunk of clay and I'm gonna make a sculpture in front of you. And some audiences are like, oh my God, I can't wait to see you make this sculpture, which is building the joke. Like, whoa, you're building this beautiful sculpture and it's not done yet, but I want to watch you work on it. And then other times you're working on it and people are mad at you. And they're like, what the fuck are you saying? And why are you ruining pool night? And it's like
right.
Like you try to get in front of fans. You try to get in front of like people who like stand up and are naturally interested. But so much of like the forging of the joke is happening in the worst environment possible.
Yeah.
But that teaches you how to be like scrappy and how to like get people's attention. I remember I was on this show and everyone's bombing on it, and because there's not a lot of people, it's a big venue and there's like 15 people.
Yeah.
And it's just a nightmare room. And I was like, well, I can't just do my jokes. And so I go out there and I just go, who voted for Trump? And it split the room immediately. Immediately there was tension in the room of like half the people.
7
like,
people voted for Trump and 7 didn't.
Yeah. And and like, so it's like you're almost, I don't even know how to say it, but you're almost transacting in attention as the foundation. Then once you have the attention, then you have the attempt to make the jokes and like be comedic and stuff. But yeah, I remember just like so much of it, you're just fighting to survive. That's beautiful in a way. Like you're so close to death with stand up, which as metalheads, you guys probably like that metaphor, you perverts. You fucking gross little demons.
Yeah, I think that's it's similar to music, but where you have to, I call it eating shit. You have to eat shit for like 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of good in a way because it's like a barrier to entry. Not everybody can do it, and you have to really fight and tough it out.
Yeah.
And like Chaney and I talk about this a lot, just how similar kind of coming up as a comedian is. It's really similar to like underground metal because we're doing the same thing. We're ruining pool nights sometimes, not anymore, but we were
y'all
ruining.
Fucking made it. Shout outs to y'all. Y'all are crushing.
Yeah. I mean, we still have like a ways to go, but yeah, we're definitely
got some traction.
Fortunately, we're not ruining like the barbecue night, but we've had like when we first started touring, we played one day at a brewery, and like, I don't even think anybody there knew it was going to be like a metal show, and they just had it like outside, and there's a bunch of people out there eating barbecue with their kids during the day.
Oh yeah,
and
it's
we're
like
up there
doing the most offensive comedy possible.
Exactly.
We're screaming in their faces.
Yeah, and Chaney's up there like, oh, the singer's gonna come up, and she's like, and we're just like, oh, and it was like, I just felt so bad.
Yeah,
I felt so bad.
Yeah. We in comedy we call that like I don't remember, but you're just bombarding. You're just like you're showing up at their night.
Yeah.
To scream at them, and it is. I mean, truly, it is screaming sometimes. Like at the open mics, probably like 10%, 10 to 20% of the comedians that do the open mics, they have this like screechy tone. It's this tone of like desperation and mental disease that like just like it gets under people's skins, and it drives people, it closes people off. Like people who shout into the microphone, or like there's so many like aesthetic choices that people make that just betray like the total lack of connection to. I'm always thinking about the audience experience. Like how does the audience perceive me, and how do I sound to them? Like, do they know it's safe? Do they know it's comfortable? Do they know it's playful? But yeah, I've also bombed like horrendously. Like anytime I bomb, it's because I end up saying something really accidentally mean.
Okay.
And I know I don't mean anything I'm saying, but they get stuck on like what did he say?
Right.
And
right.
you're just it's a nightmare.
Well, I mean, when you're in those situations where people don't necessarily know who you are, you don't have the rapport to be like, you know, oh no, like it's cool. I know this guy. He's my buddy. It's fine. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was one time it was at Swing Kegs actually. I had just started stand up and I always try and start with like a little bit of like commentary on either the room or the people. Like I like to call people hot and ugly. That's a good one.
That's how you get on someone's good side right away. Call them ugly.
Hot, wealthy. I did this show a few weeks ago for Don't Tell Comedy, and they're usually really, really good. Some of the best shows in town, and I show up at this like co-working space and the entire audience is hot white ladies, like all attractive white women, and that is a nightmare. Like you don't want to be speaking to the people you'd like to have sex with. Like I want degenerate folks who aren't judging me as a potential mate. You know what I'm saying? And so I go up on stage and I'm like I'm going to call an audible and do none of the jokes I wrote for you guys because my whole set is I'm a pervert and don't have sex with me. And so I said that and they laughed a little bit. And then I was like, you guys are all so hot. Well, most of you. And then there was one guy. There was like 3 guys total in the whole audience. And there was one guy I like isolated and I was like, well, you obviously have money. And they liked that. And then I like riffed a little bit on a lot of my jokes are about perversion and stuff. And I did a joke that didn't exactly land the way I wanted, and I was like, well, how many of you are Christians? Like, I'm getting a Christian, and I smell a Jew. Like that. And I was like, I'm kidding. I don't smell them. They're in the tunnel too deep. Like, and I know, but you're literally just conjuring shit. Like, it's just word vomit. You're just following the impulse. And it's like I said about that masterful crowd work comic of like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute off to the races. It's like, eventually you're going to reconcile it in the same way that when you write a song, you know, eventually you're going to get the chorus around and you're going to fucking, I don't know.
Well, so why is crowd work so poorly looked upon? Why do people do?
Because comics who are joke writers judge it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like if you're not good at something, you're going to be like, that's not true.
Of course.
And then also a lot of like clips go that like comedically aren't the greatest, but it's just like you had a funny moment and you're capitalizing on it. So it's like...
Wait, so comedians are looking down on other comedians for becoming successful, having a viral moment?
It's the basically. Matt Rife phenomenon. Like a lot of like good comics don't like Matt Rife. They think Matt Rife is bad for stand-up. And I don't have a dog in the race, but I understand where they're coming from of like, you're just hot. And so people give you the benefit of the doubt, and then the moment is birthed from that benefit of the doubt, and you're able to be funny. Yeah, that's not as like impressive as someone who's like hideous and horrendous and makes a really funny joke about like. There's this. I love this on Kill Tony. Last night there was this comic. I forget his name, and that's a bummer. But his joke, he goes on. And he says, anytime I'm going to the bathroom, I see this sign that says, do not flush anything but toilet paper down these toilets. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do with this huge load of shit I just made? And it's like, that's good writing, you know? Like like you're making a specific perspective on a general experience. And I don't know. I understand why people don't like crowd work, but it's different things. It's like...
That's what I was going to say. It's just like different genres to me. You're a good crowd work comic. Some people are really great comedians who are probably terrible at crowd work, you know?
Yeah, I mean, both are so fun. Like crowd work is... Like if you ever like reconcile... I remember when I first like started comedy, I had this... I was out on tour with this guy. I was like a year in, and I was in Alabama, and I made a mistake, and I was supposed to say my girlfriend, but I said sister. And so it was like this like sexual experience, and then I said sister, and I was like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. And then some guy in the crowd was like, you are in Alabama, brother. And then I was like, oh, how long have you guys been related? And it was a couple. And then I was like, if you guys kiss, I'm gonna come. And it was just like this spur of the moment like thing that just happened to me. And that's beautiful and wonderful. And like, oh my God, thank you, God, for your grace that I thought of funny things. But that's not the same as writing a really good joke and it just being a fucking bullet in the goddamn gun, like bang, bang. And it's part of a larger act. And so, like, you know, I understand crowd work is beautiful and it's wonderful, but like building an act and having something to say and it being meticulously crafted and like it's the sculpture thing. That to me is like really the art form in a sense, or like it's what, you know, a lot of my favorite comics aspire for.
Yeah, I understand that. And you don't see comics that get huge who are doing crowd work. No one on like Louis C.K.'s level seems to be doing crowd work in an arena that I've seen.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It'd be funny though.
I know, it'd be interesting, right?
Well, Matt Rife is kind of there. Like Matt Rife.
I haven't watched any Matt Rife.
Over in 15C.
You know, I hate to say this, but I've been hesitant to watch a Matt Rife special just because.
Chaney's got her. She's down. She's Allegiance.
Yeah, I'm Allegiance. I'm with the comic
it's
Allegiance.
Yeah.
This sort of
but
thing
I've never even seen one of his viral clips. I just know that he's like the hot guy who goes on podcasts.
Yeah, but it goes back to that thing of like that people give him the benefit of the doubt because he is attractive, and like attractiveness is like a weird double-edged sword of stand-up, but he has the most charisma of any comedian. And then you have someone like Dave Attell, who Dave Attell looks like just a guy you'd see on the subway. Yeah. And he's like one of the great comedic minds of a generation.
Yeah, he's funny. He's really fucking funny.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, everyone's going to love Matt Rife. And afterwards, you know, Matt Rife is going to have a much longer line of people that want to take a photo of him. But it's not for the art form. You know, it
sounds like people are salty.
Well, that's also, is it just a gimmick does it only matter right now? You don't really know. Because if he is a good comic, then he will stand the test of time, right?
Yeah, I don't see Matt Rife standing the test of time. Like, I mean, he's great, he's wonderful. Like, that's an impressive skill. It's like seeing someone who can like this is it. It's like seeing a bodybuilder that takes steroids and he can bench press 500 pounds versus seeing a gymnast or someone who does ballet. It's like obviously one of those is just you were on steroids.
Yeah.
And you can do the thing. It's a very one-dimensional thing. But someone who can like string an act together and the whole thing is just beautiful dance. You're like, wow.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it in music as well. There are gimmicks that explode, you know, and people are very popular for an amount of time, and everyone gets super jealous of them.
Yeah.
Or they sidestep like the quote unquote hard work.
Right.
Or it
so like when
appears as if
MySpace
they
came
do.
out, there was a band. Job for a Cowboy. They, in my opinion, were like the first band to blow up on MySpace.
Yeah.
And like
the Dane Cook of
so they were really young,
Sure.
like younger than even my band, and we were only like fucking 20 when they came out. And they didn't go on tour, and they were bigger than like every band. So it was like they just blew up off MySpace, and everybody was salty. The older people were salty because they're like, oh, well, they didn't have to like, you know, pay their dues or whatever, and they're kind of doing a gimmicky thing.
Every blessing is a curse. Like, that happens in comedy. Like, we just had Uncle Laser on the podcast.
Yeah, I listened to it.
And it's like he's in the best place imaginable for a comedian who really loves it.
Yeah.
Because you get stage time as often as you want. But he's in the worst place possible if you don't love stand-up. You know what I'm saying? Like you're in the public light. You have all these opportunities. People are looking at you, and you can either like crush it and level up, or you're gonna be disintegrated by the mob. And so it's like to pop early is, if you love it, is a great blessing because it's gonna make you great.
Right, but you have to kind of grow up in front of everybody.
But it's like and it's like that's way better than like fucking being in open mics. I know some comics who are some of the funniest motherfuckers, and they'll never make it. They'll never get out of the open mic scene, and
it's because they're not hot.
I'm here all week.
Folks. Sorry, your friends.
No, but it's like you're. What I try to stay like as my North Star is loving the process of things.
You have to
you have to love the process.
1,000%.
You have to get excited about a specific joke. You have to get excited about a specific tag. You have to get excited about a specific different way of saying a certain thing. And like love the structure, love the organization, love the whole process of it. And then whatever comes is just bonus.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
You know,
but
like,
deep down, we're like, this sucks, eating shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll bomb now. Like, I bombed last night. Like and it's not it's not a bomb, but it's like you're trying to like light a forest fire, and sometimes you show up and it's been raining for a month.
Yeah,
and
I
you're
know.
like, there's no way I'm like, I just want to get a little heat tonight, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you try to avoid the painful bombs. I've had some really bad bombs, like bombs where you're like, everyone hates me and I hate myself.
Where was your worst one?
Oh man. Okay, so this one's in the top 3. I was hosting the show. Someone reached out to me and were like, we need a comic who can do 25 minutes unpaid. And I was like, no one's gonna do that. What about 5 sets of 5 unpaid, but like newer comics get some spots? And so we decided to do that. And a good comic, Amber Autry, was gonna like headline it. And they agreed to that. And it's at this hippie's house. It's a house party. They have like a little acoustic singer-songwriter show before.
Oh no!
And I
it's
did
already
mushrooms.
getting off to a bad foot.
I did mushrooms and was hosting. And Amber, who's like a really good comic, she's like one of the best in town. She was like, "Hey, I have to leave for another gig, so I need to go first." And I was like, so I host and do my time and then you go? And she goes, no, I just need to go up immediately. And they're like taking their time to go.
Wait, was she the big comic?
Yeah, she was supposed to go at the end, but she had to go first. And
she fucked you guys.
And what that means is I'm going last now because I'm hosting this thing and like going last. And I had just taken mushrooms and I was like, oh shit, so the mushrooms are going to be fully hit by the time I'm doing my set. And Amber goes, and at the beginning, Amber's a professional. She's very, very good. You can tell this is going to be a terrible show. Because she's having a tough time.
Oh no!
And the lights are on.
Are you just watching like, okay, if she's not doing good, I'm fucked?
Yeah, everyone's butthole's getting very tight watching Amber struggle. She ends up doing fine, but like it was a Herculean amount of effort. And then the next comic goes, and on his way up, he knocks over a candle onto this fancy rug, and he bombs. And then another comic, the third comic goes up, knocks over another candle. There's a ring of candles around the stage for some reason. He kicks it over, and so he's bombing, and everyone bombs. And then there was one, you could tell, like, these people are self-conscious. They're not laughing. They're evaluating. They're staring at you. No. Like, what is this comedy attempt?
Yeah. It was in Europe, actually.
Probably. But anyway, I go, and I have jokes about, like, drowning dogs and, like, being a sex addict. And, like, I'm, like, saying some dark shit. And they're just looking at me. And then this guy comes in that looks like a cop, and I'm fully tripping. And this guy comes in the door, and I go, are you a cop, sir? And he just looks at me, and I was like, he has to tell me, right? And I was like, is he a cop? And everyone's like, no, just tell your jokes. And I was like, is he a cop? And then, dude, it was so bad.
Like, some of the stuff I can't actually say in front of a cop.
Dude, like there was like a lady that she's very annoying. She goes, oh, and I just remember thinking, like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself tonight, and I'm going to let them know that they're the reason why. And afterwards, I'm, like, sitting on the couch. Like, normally after a show, I like to hang out. I'm like, hey, everyone thinks you're coming.
Yeah.
This show, I, like, apologized to the booker and left. And as I was apologizing to the booker, one of the guys was there, and he overheard it, and he goes, hey, man, at least you were honest up there. I was like, I'll fucking kill you, sir. And it was just like I left being like, I can't ever handle that again. Like, this is the end of my life. And it's just like I felt judged. I felt like it was it was very observational. Like, what you want in comedy is it to be dark and anonymous and guttural.
And you could like see everyone's face.
Right? They were watching me die. That was bad. That was bad. There's another time when I first started where I thought to say, there's this obese trucker that his feet were spilling over his Nikes, and like they couldn't even lace. And I go, make some noise for gout, and everyone just goes, everyone just goes, oh. and then I did a Jeff Foxworthy impression of like, if you can't tie your shoes, you might have gout. Like it's gonna crush. And everyone just starts booing me. And so I'm like, that's the beginning of my set. And so I'm like, my mom's a whore. And like everyone's just staring at me. And I'm so distracted I'm so surprised. Like I didn't know that it would not work. And in hindsight, I understand. You can't go up and just insult a man. And so like halfway through every single of my 4 bits for that 5-minute set, I interrupt my bit to just be like, I'm really sorry. I gotta go back to the bit. And it's just, it was so bad. I remember being like so hot in the face. And like everyone hates me. And I hate myself.
Yeah. See, that's the fascinating thing is that when it's like what you were talking about earlier, like comedy is a direct reaction to what's going on in the audience. So if you have that distraction, you're going to be pulled down this dark hole. Whereas I can see people doing shit that I do not like in the audience, but I still have this like main thread of song that I'm holding on to for dear life to not be like, get the fuck off your phone or say something. But I'll think those things. I'm just never going to express them.
Yeah, it's so easy to get derailed as a comic. Like I'm like kind of hypersensitive too. Like I did this show in a coffee shop, which is a nightmare place because when they hit the fucking bean grinder, you're not gonna do well. And like they start shaking this fucking frother or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of setting up my premise, and I just turn and I go, "What is that noise?" And then like no one knows what I'm talking about because they're listening to me, but I'm so like ADD about it, and now I adjust this noise, and then the fucking barista's not gonna talk to me about it, and so I'm back in the joke, and I'm like, where am I? And like, so it's like you have to learn how to either like have this mastery where you can go out of the bit and address reality and get back into the bit, or just don't do that at all. But there's also this interesting phenomenon where like jokes and stand-up is like about creating and resolving tension. And so if your bit is this balloon, and each little like stanza of it is you blowing the balloon up of your punchline is that pop at the end, that boom, and maybe you have a couple other pops afterwards, but like you really don't want to interfere with whatever's blowing up that balloon in that moment. And so if you hear the coffee grinder and you're in the middle of blowing up the balloon, if you talk about the coffee grinder, all the air in that balloon goes out. And then it's like, well, shit, I have to say my punchline in 8 words. But there's no air in the balloon, so it's not going to get a laugh. And it's like, you have to like, I always say that like stand-up is like learning the 10,000 mistakes and not doing those, because all that remains is going to be a good show. You know, it's like, you know, not to talk about the coffee grinder unless you really know how to get back and blow that balloon up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not worth it.
So are these just things that you learn over time? Is there someone there to tell you this stuff?
No, there's no mentorship in this game.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like people like good comics will have a lot to say, but it's such a solitary experience because like when I first started stand-up, I bought the autobiographies of like every famous comic I could find, and I read them all because it was like, all right, I want to hear directly from these people how they see.
Yeah.
And then like see if I can build a perspective that kind of aligns with, you know, whatever worked for them. Because there's a lot of like advice that's like really bad advice. Like a lot of comics who are successful like only work clean, and they'll be like, work clean, make sure you work clean. And if working clean is a violation of your voice, it's a distraction that will like take years off your career.
Totally.
Like it's a side quest that doesn't do anything for your real voice. And so you got to be kind of careful.
I think some people are just naturally, that's their vibe.
Clean?
Yeah.
They had good childhoods.
I mean, no one wants to see like Jim Gaffigan do a super dirty set, you know?
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I know. Actually, now that I say that, I'm like, as the words were coming out of my mouth, I'm like, that would be pretty funny, actually.
I want to see it too.
To a comedy club and was like, all right, check this shit out. And just was like raunchy, I'd be like, I'd cream my pants, dude.
Is that still a thing as much as it used to be?
What?
The do clean comedy if you want to get big?
Yeah, I mean,
seems like
all
an old head thing.
All corporates are clean, and that's where a lot of money is. Like, if you want to make a living, it's a pretty good path.
That seems insufferable.
Yeah,
Late night TV is clean. Yeah, but I mean, some people are that way. Like, some people can like make a joke about a mop head, and it's just like, oh, that's really funny.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about, like, I had this joke that I've been working on that, like, it's been working lately, which is thank God. But there was one time I told it, and it's about women who aren't wearing bras anymore. And it makes me look like the bad guy, but I'm like, I'm pretty sick of all this bralessness. I'm not a Republican, but our country was founded on bra and order, because at the end of the day, like, I'm trying to be an ally, but I'm distracted. And it's just like this long tirade about how women are at fault for making me horny. And I don't mean it. I do not mean it.
Yeah, of course.
I mean it.
That's why it's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's like you're making some points, but not the ones I'm supposed to be looking at. But, like, that joke, like, I've told that joke to an audience of 2 people, and they were both women. And I was like, and just the way I opened the joke, like, it's a subtle difference. Like, if I open the joke of, like, women aren't wearing bras and, like, that's wild, versus women aren't wearing bras and I don't like that. Because I opened with, I don't like that, to these 2 women, and they just stared at me and were like, what is this white guy saying to me?
Yeah.
And, like, but, like, only, like, that's a dirty joke. And a lot of times when you do a dirty joke, you're stuck having to defend it, and in the defense of it is where the funny really starts to emerge. Like, you're creating this tension. Whereas if I was talking about mop buckets, it'd be like, I really don't care. I don't give a shit. I like creating tension and people being like, what's this white guy saying? And then finding a way to, like, tie it all up in a nice, pretty bow, and people laugh despite maybe their objections. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I do too, and that's a fine line. That's, I think, hard to walk, because you don't want to, like, flat out offend people.
No.
Right?
That's a hard thing to come back from.
You want to offend them just enough to where they're like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think,
well, it's like how
that's fucking hard to do, man.
It's like how the best characters, or like, let's see, Larry David, or like homie from Sopranos, what's his name? I can't think of it off the top of my head.
The
main
guy?
character. Yeah, it's like Tony Soprano. It's like they're kind of really crappy people, but there's enough redeemability that they still keep you on their side. And that kind of is the job of a comedian a lot of the time. You have to offend people just enough, but you have to maintain this level of likability.
Yeah. So there's a playfulness. Like, I always I see this a lot, like, because a lot of comedians go to comedy for the therapeutic relief, in a way. Like I know there's a comic in the scene who,
they're not funny.
A lot of it, some of them can be, but there's a comic in the scene who, like, a couple of his main jokes are about being molested, and
really funny topic.
There's nothing sadder than him saying that joke and people be like, is he okay? That's the worst. That's what, like, I've had people awe at me and be like, aw, and I want to stab them in the aorta. Because it's like, you're missing my point. I'm fine. I'm fucking fine.
You're like, I wouldn't say it if I wasn't fine.
But some people say it and they're not fine. And that's like one of the main things of, like, if you're going to be into that, like, that really, like, subversive, irreverent, kind of darker shit, like, the first thing, the first door, the first gate is, like, you have to establish that you're okay. And if you're not able to do that, you shouldn't do that joke. But if you can do that, and, like, what you, like, a lot of comics will, like, dig a hole for themselves or sabotage themselves, and then it's in the fighting back, climbing out of the hole, that all of the best meat is, all the magic is like, all right, I'm going to tell you this thing that totally blows up the room, and I'm going to find a way. Like Louis C.K., I was just going to mention that. He has this really profound advice that I think is, like, amazing. He talks about how, like, when he's building his hour, he goes to a random club and he says a joke that he knows is not going to work. It's gonna kill it's going to kill everything. They're going to hate him or be confused or not like him or whatever. And his goal isn't to do well. His goal is to find out what is the unalienable objection. The objection that he finds every time, this almost constant that emerges when you talk about little girl panties or something, you know. And then he feels that fucking obelisk out, and then he goes home and he writes around it. And then so he'll go on stage and he'll start to feel that impenetrable obstacle, and then he's like, well, I know how to get around it now. And then he goes to the second objection and the third and the fourth, and then he builds this bit, and by the time it's done, it's this very, very nuanced dance around the objections of society, where you're landing somewhere in a way that like elicits a human response in an otherwise traumatic context. And that, to me, that's top tier shit. Like that is, I'm so fascinated by that. And like, I don't do that. Like right now I'm like learning how to walk, and he's, you know, summiting Everest, but I'm very, very interested in that. Like,
well, it's fascinating. It's a lot like metal bands, you know, in the beginning, you don't have the you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the resources. And it's kind of like, really, we used to say, like when we first started, it's impossibly hard until it's impossibly easy. Because when you're Louis C.K., it's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fly around the fucking country and just say something that's completely fucked, and then take notes on what I'm going to do in the future. And that exists in the music world as well, like the equivalent to that. But yeah, you don't have the ability to do that right now, and that's why you have to be scrappy.
Yeah. What we're doing now is, first of all, if you're watching this, you're in Nashville and you're interested in comedy, come out, because, you know, I'll kill myself.
We do got a lot. We got a lot of Nashville people actually that watch this program.
Yeah, dude. I really do want to do an open mic in one of y'all's like watering holes. I've thought about D's.
D's would be awesome.
If we can make that happen, that would be, and I would host it with Sydney and just make it a grunge.
They could do it at the end. So cool. You can just straight up book a night at the end.
Yeah.
The end would be good too if you guys know the people there. I've been in there a couple of times.
Just email Bruce.
Like,
yeah,
he'll just set the show. Like you can just book there.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. All right, we'll do it. But
that'd be sick.
Yeah, it's the stage that I'm at now. It's like I'm getting some dates. I'm doing 20 minutes tomorrow actually on this show, and that's like the longest I've ever done. I did 18 minutes one time. I was on tour with this guy, and we were doing 3 shows in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, at this like comedy club that's since shut down. Like the last time I saw the club owner, he had like a black eye. He got the shit kicked out of him. And I don't know why, but it had to do with the reason why the club closed. But so the first 2 nights, like I'm opening, so I'm doing like 10 to 15 minutes. And like I was a year into comedy and I had like 6 minutes of jokes. And so I would just like do a lot of crowd work and like just survive. And then on the 3rd show, he was selling like 100 tickets a night. And on the 3rd show, I think he had sold like 30 tickets. And he pulled me aside and he goes, I'm not going out there tonight. It's like, you do as long as you can. And so
damn.
I know. And so I go out there, and after like 4 minutes, I'm like, yeah, this is going pretty bad. But it's not my show, so I don't give a fuck. And I lasted 18 minutes out there just like talking to people and like just eating my own penis in front of people. Wow. And then finally, like the club owner like lighted me, and the headliner had to do
Saved by the Light.
Yeah, dude, it was such a fucking nightmare. But yeah, I've got like shows coming up, and like so I'm starting to get like that level where I'm in front of good people. Like I just did a show in Knoxville a couple nights ago that was the best. There's like 130 people in the audience, and like I felt like I have 10 to 15 minutes that's really, really working. Mm-hmm. And I'm stretching to 20 tomorrow and just kind of like feeling it all out. But yeah, the open mic, like the local scene is like, it's so fragile because you live and die by like the stage time that you get. And you know,
are there a lot of comedians here?
Yeah, there's probably like 50.
So all of you, 50. Is the thing you get out and you do comedy as much as possible? Are you doing it every night?
Every night that there's an open mic that I'm not banned at.
Wait, what?
Let's talk about
Yeah,
it.
where are you banned from and why?
This is wonderful, and I trust death people, death metal heads, death eaters to be on my team about this. But I when I first started, I was saying some crazy shit. I was saying like I had a joke about drowning puppies. I had a joke about
Yeah, we love doing that in metal. We love drowning puppies.
Yeah.
That's how you get initiated
it happened
into metal.
To me, I didn't drown puppies, but like my stepdad drowned puppies, and there's a part of it that's funny because it's like the joke is essentially like when I was a kid, the only time we would take our dogs to the vet was when it was really bad, and what I didn't know is that the vet was just a neighbor Charlie who never quit killing, and so we take him to the vet, and he drowned these puppies in front of me. And I remember being like 8 years old and being like, damn, I better not get parvo. Parvo, this is serious. But like I would tell jokes like that, and like there would be these like really woke comics who would be like, you can't, like I would tell racial jokes. I would tell just a bunch of like really, I had this joke about trigger warnings and how like trigger warnings are kind of like problematic in that like they're bracing you for the raping, and it's like I want all of my trauma like as a surprise. I don't want to know it's coming, you know. And it's like, well, trigger warning will inform you if you want to watch the movie or not. And I'm like, well, the movie's called Rape Baby 3 Baby's Revenge. Like, I know what I bought, you know? And so I'm doing these jokes that are like, oh, and I'm like 6 weeks in. So a lot of like the woke comics had a lot of problem with that. And there's like a lot of gatekeepers in the scene that are like, they tell you what you can and can't joke about and how you have to be on stage. And a lot of it's like, you have to respect me because I've been doing comedy for 6 years. And it's like, yeah, you bomb when I don't bomb. So stop trying to dominate me. And so there's like this kind of like subsection of comedy that I'm not really like welcome at, which is fine because it's not good comedy. Like that only happens with like weak people who aren't that funny. But
yeah, I have sort of noticed that on some podcasts that I'll listen to, there will be like a less known comic, but they've been doing it for
much
12,
longer.
15 years.
Yeah.
So they think when they speak to a comedian who's only been doing it for a year or two, they speak in a way that even if that person is funnier, they know more, and therefore the person who's been involved longer, they're higher up. It's
I don't want to say this. We had a podcast with a guy who's kind of like that, and like
I listened to it.
He is funny, but you could kind of feel the vibe of that, and like like that's that energy is always pushing on you, and it's a scarcity mindset. It's a I don't have the thing, and so I want to control what I can control. It's like in the absence of love, people seek power, and I feel love. Like I love like. I've heard people tell rape jokes and pedophile jokes, and I've seen it like just be the most cringiest thing ever, and I'm not mad at the people for trying it. It's like I might steer you away from doing that material because you don't seem to be able to like handle that, but I'm not judging you as a human being, and I'm not trying to like cancel you and keep you from getting work and keep you from finding the love relationship that causes you to get better at your art. Like I support people, and I want to create a space where everyone's like, fuck, like this might be really, really cool. This might be an epic moment. And I've seen comics who are like mediocre or not very good in an environment that pulled out true brilliance out of them. And so I'm not in the business of like trying to control people, but there is a very big business for that, because if you can have the moral high ground on what people can and can't do, you have power, and I think it's a real perversion. But we out here. We keep kind of fighting for this democracy and this beautiful scene, because the scene really could be beautiful. And I really do believe that like the closer we get to annihilation, the more sacred the space of comedy is, because it's like we're gonna die. It's not a bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I agree with everything that you said.
Yeah.
1,000%.
So
I mean, you can like gatekeepers can be found everywhere. In our scene, it's different.
Well, because the internet, it's like y'all can kind of get your own
There's so many.
But people
like,
get pissed about
yeah.
that. There are older people or people who don't necessarily, who think it's stupid to go and play an instrument on the internet. A lot of people think it's really stupid to do what I do, put vocal videos on the internet. And because of that, instead of embracing those things and trying to find their own audience in that way, they just totally turn their backs on it and think that it's stupid. And because of that, they don't like find as big of an audience as they could.
Yeah.
So I think that when you, in this case, when you like become a gatekeeper and think that the things that the young people are doing are stupid, which it's different than what you're talking about, you know, but when you become a gatekeeper and you refuse to do those things because you think it's stupid or like not legit, then you're actually denying yourself the thing that you want.
Yeah.
Where it's like
that's
just
thing in
fear.
metal for sure.
It's fear. It's people are, there's so much ego in everything that goes on, and that's why I really love the concept of like beginner's mind. Like when I first started stand up, I would take really, really big swings on things. So I was like, I'm a beginner, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But once you have a little bit of success, it kind of hardens the ego. It reinforces, well, my philosophy got me this success. And then you think, well, my philosophy is the truth. And it makes you not malleable to like the immense diversity of philosophy that's at work in the world. And I want to stay open to it. I want to, like, when I see someone who's like so different from me crushing at an open mic or on a show, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
Us too. That's what we do
I mean,
all
there
the
was a time, like,
all the fucking time.
There was this moment where I was like, if someone, I remember feeling this on a show. There was like 2 comics and they both did well. And they did well in a way I could never be. And I was like, they got all the love. There's no love for me. And then like I had my set and they loved me too. And I was like, oh, okay. It's a scarcity I'm imposing on the world.
It's not like a pie chart and there's like a fixed amount of how much they can laugh. It's just, it's like an open-ended thing.
It's a beautiful show. It's like each person is like unique. And each person's mind is like, I've spent probably 100 or 200 or 300 hours like writing my material. So it's like, this is my 300 hours of myself like blooming in front of you. And it's a firework. When you see a firework, you're not like, oh God, well that one was so bright and beautiful that the next one's not going to be. Exactly. You know, it's like you just watch the fireworks for as long as you can.
Yeah, 100%.
And when you see something like that happen, what both of us think is important is to, when you see someone become super successful, you like take something from that. What are they doing that I could be doing 100%. Differently in order to
courage?
We're like, what can I learn here?
Yeah. There can be something learned from every single person. Yeah. Even if you do think it's stupid or it's not what you want to do, there's still an element to what's going on 100%. That you can incorporate into your own life. Yeah. If you see vocal videos like what I do and you think that's stupid, well, try to do a different kind of video. Try to do something else to get yourself out there on the internet. It's not all cut and dry. And I think like with the TikTok generation, for a lot of metal bands, the thing to do is to like do something so silly that it's over what we call a breakdown, you know? So there's like this 15
really crazy
second
catching moment, you know?
Like,
it's
so
obnoxious.
they'll do like crazy obnoxious breakdowns, and that's what will help things go viral on TikTok, where people will look at that and be like, that's so stupid. These breakdowns they're so dumb. But you can put your own version of that. You can figure out what's your breakdown and put it on the internet. And those things will go viral as well. It's not just cut and dry. It's not one size fits all. Like, you don't have to. A lot of people, when we started doing TikTok, were like, you have to do these stupid, funny videos and like totally.
Yeah, you're like, almost a whore at that point.
Yeah, we're like, dude, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, you just have to do that cool TikTok fucking dance. That's
totally.
Like, that's like kind of embarrassing. But that's the thing is like, you want to love the process and you want to be not attached to it. You don't want to be attached to the outcome. You just want to love the process. Because if you're having fun doing the TikTok dance, you're gonna be having a good life. Yeah. If you're doing it because you think you have to, you're gonna be so self-conscious. You're gonna be hating yourself. Exactly. You're gonna be like, this isn't truthful to who I am.
Absolutely.
You gotta be truthful to who you are, but also not take yourself so seriously that you're not that you're afraid of becoming the fool online. And that's the beautiful thing about stand-up is like every night I'm an idiot. Like I bombed last night. Like I got on stage last night and you're like, don't look at me. And like I played it back and I was like, it's fine. It's fine. But I felt a tension. I focused on a tension that made me critical of what I ended up performing. And like you're always going to be thinking through and analyzing and assessing. But like at the end of the day, that's what I love about being a live performer, and you guys know this too. It's like as soon as the fucking curtain comes up and it's time to go, it's like you're in the water, you're swimming, and what a gift, what a fucking because I know so many people who never know what it feels like to swim like that.
Absolutely.
Like they just sit on the sidelines being like, wow, look how athletic, you know?
Yeah.
And we get to do it every night. And like that's I'm happy for that. The only thing I would change is like to get good enough that when I want to perform, I can perform. Because right now I have to convince people for stage time. I have to be like, please, I won't fuck it up. You know, and and then in between, I'm talking to people who want to play pool.
So how long have you been doing comedy?
It'll be 3 years in May.
Wow.
Yeah. So
is there a point for comedians where they're like, you have to be doing it for this long and that's when you're good? Is it like 10 years, 20 years, or it's just...
Nah, I think like historically that was like kind of the case, and that has to do with some of the hierarchy. But there are truly fascinating individuals. Like Cam Patterson is an example of like, he's been doing it less than 5. Motherfucker is one of the funniest dudes in the world. So I think like there's certain aspects to the business that you won't learn for a long time. There's going to be a certain like bulletproof nature that takes a long time to develop.
Oh,
like,
I bet.
Yeah, it's where it's like, all right, I'm not going to bomb in any situation. And that takes a long time. But like in terms of like just being funny out of the gate, like I was funny in a way my very first open mic that I still have yet to get back.
Wow.
Like, yeah, when I first started, I had this bit about how gross porn has gotten. I saw this porno one time where this lady was chained up on her back, and this black guy with this huge cock was just running and thrusting his hard cock into her, and it looked like a snake swallowing a squirrel. And I'm like acting this out. I'm like laying down on the ground going like, ugh, blah, and like, and then I'm like, yeah, it was so gross. As soon as I came, I had to take a shower, and like the act out, the ability to like just not be self-conscious and just commit to laying on the ground and doing this thing, like that took. I still couldn't do that. Like I'm
like you don't have
happy.
that kind of courage now.
Yeah, because the moment you bomb, you conjure a demon, and that demon is always tied to your soul. He's always in the corner looking at you, being like, "I'm gonna get you, bitch." Whereas my very first time, I was like, "There's no demon in here."
Yeah.
And then like
you're like, everyone wants me to do great here.
And then once you see that guy, you're like, okay, we're gonna live a long time together. And now, anytime I'm on stage, I see him in the corner. He's just like staring. He's like, I'm waiting for my opportunity. But if you stay playful and you stay grateful, it's really hard to bomb. You're just like, I did this show in Knoxville, and it was a really good show, and I was like sick for like 4 days before. I'm still kind of like, ugh. But I went on stage and I had this comment about like, the last guy had a joke about like some girl he was trying to have sex with for a long time, and I went on stage and I was just like, yeah, I'm the girl he was trying to fuck, you know, and we did, and neither of us came, you know, and I'm just like riffing a little bit, and then I'm just so glad they're laughing, you know, I'm so glad they're laughing, and then I'm excited for the next joke. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to tell them this joke. And then you're just like kind of skiing, and you're not like, am I funny anymore? Yeah. You're just like, is this going to be funny? Is this going to be funny? And it's not so personal. And so if it's not funny, you're not like, I'm not funny. You're like, all right, I'll get him with the next one. And now you're boxing, you know, you're just like, I'm going to get him. And then if you get him, you really get him, then like everything you say is funny. And then you grow as a comedian because your jokes take on a new life. Like you'll have new tags emerge in real time. Like I've never said this before, but I'm just saying more parts of this joke that I've never even thought. And that's what you really, really want to have.
So do you film every set?
I record the audio. Yeah. I listen back to the audio. I'm trying to get better at filming every set because clips and shit, but I don't really care. Yeah. I don't care if I'm not a famous comic for a long time. I don't care. I just want to like have good sets and like stage time.
Totally. Well, clips, I mean, dude, I like taking videos of myself. That's what I liked before I even posted them to the internet. I like doing that just to assess what I can do differently. Yeah. Because a part of playing shows is being a performer, and a part of doing just checking out what I'm doing when I'm breathing and stuff. So I would imagine that with you and with comedians, it's probably the same way. Like there are ways to walk around on stage, and you can be super awkward, and you can come off really awkward even if the words you're saying are not awkward. The way you're acting can be awkward.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I think I've always had like good charisma and good stage confidence. I'm not like a very expressive guy, but I'll like lean on the stand and be like, hey, you're ugly. Just like something like playful that like lets them know I'm comfortable. That part's a really big part, where you're like establishing like a relaxed environment that like it's going to be okay and I'm okay and you're okay. But yeah, it's really an infinite, like diverse number of expressions that could work on stage. There's no like one truthful one. I think you just have to go with how you feel. Like when I was sick in Knoxville, I started off like really heavily leaning on the stool. I'm leaning on the stool and I'm saying this thing, and then I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. And then they start laughing, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I tell another little joke, and they laugh. I have this joke I really like. It might be hack. I haven't found out if it's hack or not, but I go on stage and I say, I just did a DNA test recently and I found out that I have Indian blood. I pause for a second and I go, on my hands, I'm a colonizer. And just to watch the audience absorb that and like and take that in and like, cause they don't know what I'm going to talk about. I might be a Christian comic. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like they have no idea what, and then I say that, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm one of the bad whites. And then like you can push into that and be like, who else is a bad white? Give people an opportunity to say they might be bad people. And then you talk about which ones are poor. Yeah, you're not bad, but you're poor. Look at you. Like you're just fucking around in that space, knowing it's gonna swing you to the premise of your next joke, which is talking about growing up as a poor person. Right. And it's just playing
genius.
in the tension of it, like just creating this tension and resolving it. But because you're confident and you're comfortable in it, like, they're not going to say anything, They're not gonna, it's so fun.
To me, watching really good comedy, it's like when you see a movie or like a documentary, you know how the style in documentaries now is to kind of uncover a cool story as it goes? Like comedy is like that. Yeah. And it's so fascinating because I watch comedy and I'm like, that is one thing that I really love watching that I've never thought I can do that. I want to try doing that. So it's amazing to me to be able to watch it from the outside and see how you guys string stories together and how you think.
Very meticulous. Yeah. It's like, and that's the thing that's like the hidden. That's like when you see like tapestry, what you're seeing is the front of the tapestry. You're not seeing all the stitching in the back. The back is a rat's nest of fucking opium and fucking alcoholism and trauma. Like, but you're putting it all together so that it seems seamless in the front. But yeah, there's a lot of, that's something I really study too. Like I don't pay attention to people's bits that often. Like I'm not like, occasionally I will, and I'll be like, oh, the tag right there was really good. But mostly what I listen for is the rhythm, the cadence, the tone, and how they keep the ball moving. Are you taking a piss break? Yeah. I have to pee so bad
I do too. Okay. Yeah, let's all
We're going to be right back, folks.
Harrison, you got to keep them company on the
this the is Twitch. On you, pal. Don't fucking yeah, I'm about to explode. Yeah. I'm just gonna pee
we got a Cam sucks in the comments.
Cam Patterson?
Yeah, Cam sucks.
Someone said Cam Patterson sucks.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that people...
He's tired of him repeating the same minutes on Kill Tony.
Listen, who is this person?
How could you...
Listen, you dumbass. You do Kill Tony every week and not repeat yourself. Cam Patterson repeated himself because he didn't care that much.
That's what I was going to bring up, it's like writing a new minute every single week seems super daunting to me. I mean, I don't know what it takes to write a minute.
That's why you gotta rise to the challenge, dude.
Very. It's I don't write as often as I should. Like I watched Kill Tony last night, and that was one of the best. If you ever watched Kill Tony, last night's episode that they put out with Bobby Lee, Bert, and Esther.
Oh damn,
Pizvitsky. I don't know. She's Jew, and so that one though is like one of the best. Everyone crushes. There's this Cam Patterson is one of the best sets I've seen on there.
Wow.
He has this joke that's so fucking good. It's like you really can understand the level at which he's operating comedically when you watch that. I saw, like, I'm fascinated by like someone who has a meteoric rise like Cam. Like I watched a podcast that he did. I forget who he did it with. Oh, it was with Mark Gagnon of Andrew Schultz's tribe. And so it's Mark Gagnon interviewing Cam Patterson because I guess they came up together. And Cam talks about like the pressure of what he's experiencing. He's like, he's doing a
yeah, it's probably hard, man.
It's an immense amount of pressure.
Andy has to read Reddit. I mean, if he reads Reddit, go to Reddit and read comments about himself.
Or he might be reading the KoperCrabb Twitch comment thread.
Which has one comment about him.
Demon Slayer 666, you fucking queer. But
it's actually a girl.
Is she hot?
Probably.
Wow. I got to sit with my boy Cam.
Metal girls, you know.
Yeah, she stinks.
I just wanted to throw that comment out there just to see how he would react to it.
But like the amount of pressure.
Well, I said this to him the first time the last time we hung out. I was like, "What do you think of Cam Patterson?"
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah.
He so I saw him do that podcast, and then I saw him do last night's Kill Tony, and that came out after the podcast of him talking about how much pressure he was feeling. The bit, go watch the bit. It's about his cousin. Fuck, I forget the guy's name, but it sounds like a transformer. And he's like, man, if you a black guy with that name, there are two outcomes. You're either gonna play professional ball or you going to prison. And Nestor did both, and he just riffs on this fucking thing. It's such a good joke. And then he has a great like interview back and forth, like he's kind of riffing. And then this redneck comes up named Carlos, who he's a horse. He transports horses, and he has one of the best minutes on Kill Tony ever. And he's riffing with the audience, like he's riffing with Tony during the interview portion, and he's crushing. Like they would ask him like a question, and he would come back with a one-liner that was hilarious, over and over and over and over again, and everyone's just watching this like legend be born on stage. Everyone did well. There's no lulls, there's no duds, there's no bombs.
I love those episodes.
I'm excited to watch it. See, that's the thing about Kill Tony, and for people out there who might not know what Kill Tony is, so it's a podcast. It's a live podcast. It's a comedy podcast where there is a panel of judges, and Tony is one of the judges. Yeah. And he's got like 3 regulars, I would say, a show usually. So there are 3 regulars who are actually good comedians, but everyone else is a bucket pull. Yeah. Except to that person in the chat who thinks that Cam Patterson sucks. But everyone else is a bucket pull, and they come up on stage and you do a minute. You have a minute to do something funny, tell jokes, whatever. And then after the minute, there's an interview. And people, their minutes can totally blow. Yeah. And if their interview goes well, then that's really, in my opinion, where you have to win people over on Kill Tony, because I've seen people with decent minutes who are terrible interviews, and he's just like, get off the stage. Go away. Yeah. So the interview to me is almost more of an art than the actual minute.
The interview is crowd work, essentially. It's this idea of like, can you play with reality in real time? And the minute is like, what's the best you got? And yeah, it's fascinating. It's when I was watching it last night, granted I was on an edible, but I was like, this show's the best. Like, it's so good, and it's gotten better. Really it's gotten better in production value, and it's gotten better in terms of like I think Tony has really maybe like purified his relationship with it, of like seeing, and I think being close to Rogan, and that idealism of Rogan or whatever, and comedy is like helped him maybe galvanize the purpose of the show, because what they do is they platform comedic talents that are either like seasoned or nascent, and they platform them in a way that would be otherwise impossible.
Yeah.
You might be great at stand-up. Cam Patterson could have been anonymous for 15 years.
Yeah.
But instead, now he's put in front of like the best audiences in the world, and everyone's saying like, "Let's see what you got."
Your boy.
Or Uncle Laser, yeah.
Who I think is hilarious, Uncle Laser. But it was
his first appearance was like the best. It was fucking hilarious.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
But the thing that I realized when we saw him do a headlining set, and I was like, oh, we're watching a guy at the beginning of his comedy career.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't you can tell that he's going to be really, really good, but it's obvious that there's some things he needs to work out. But that's the cool part about it. However, that could be the daunting part. If you blow up that quickly and you have so many people judging you and you're just at the beginning of your career, that could derail you if you pay too much attention to harsh critics.
I think it's all about like the level of attachment that you have. There's this really good quote that I think about all the time. And it says, if you know what you want to be, invariably you will become it. And that is your curse. On the other hand, if you never know what you want to be and instead you move around from interest to interest, unattached the whole time, you'll never become anything, and that is your gift. And it's this idea that like if life decides to thrust you in the Uncle Laser chair where you're like totally famous and you can sell out clubs, you can make a full-time living doing stand-up comedy, headlining, but you've been doing comedy for 6 months and all your jokes are about big titty MILFs, like you know, if you can be relaxed in that process, you'll eventually become good. But if you've got like this really tight grip of it, it's going to be a miserable experience.
Well, he seems cool. Absolutely. He said something on your podcast that I was like,
I loved him.
I had like respect for. He was like, I started doing headliners and I was like, I suck.
I
was like, damn, that's cool that he's like self-aware enough to not just be like, I'm the fucking shit. Anything I say is going to be funny. Look at me, you know, because he has a bombastic kind of like, that's his shtick.
It's an act, like, for sure.
Yeah, but he's actually wise enough to be like, I suck. I need to like write some jokes.
Well, that's the most important.
That's really cool. I thought that was really cool that he said that.
I think that's the most important thing to take into consideration in anything that you're doing, anything that you're starting out in, or even if you're a veteran of it. You do have to accept that there are some areas in which you can improve, or you have to be honest with yourself and say, I totally suck at doing this. I need to get better. And that goes back to the like being jealous of other people thing. If you see someone, when I'm jealous of someone, I know it's because I see them excelling at something that I
struggle with.
Exactly. So I think it's important to see that in yourself, and instead of letting that jealousy eat away at you, let it help you grow.
Yeah, learn from him. Like Shane and I, we kind of touched on this already, but like I've been touring in metal bands for 20 years. So like I'm 38. It's like a lot of people that are 38, they're already like done with it, you know? So like when I see new bands come and they blow up or whatever, I'm just like, what can I learn from them?
Absolutely.
Straight up. And I'm not even like, I don't know.
Perspective.
I'm not like a jealous person, so I don't really get jealous that much. But like,
oh, I do.
I'll just be like, what's going on here, and how can we like, what am I missing that they are tapping into? And I'm not gonna like copy them by any means, but we're gonna learn something, you know, from it. And it's like really helped us out, like having that mentality. Yeah,
makes sense. I feel like jealousy is like it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's a distraction sometimes. Like if you feel like whatever becomes fuel is good, maybe. Is like, and that's why they like I'm in Nashville for now, but I've been thinking about moving to like a larger city, just like stage time. Like if I was on a show and I was the worst comic on the show, I would get better. But if I'm on a show and it's like 3 people, shouldn't even be doing comedy, and then I get to go and like I get to be the best on the show, but it's not because I was that great. That's not good. It's like, it's not the best. But you want to be around people who are excellent and like almost purify that thing in you that's like
absolutely
envious or jealous or whatever. But ultimately, like, hopefully you fucking just love what you're doing. Like, that's the thing that, like, you know, that's like, I picture Jimi Hendrix fucking riffing out. He's not thinking about any other great guitarists. He's just fucking high. And can we get high again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Is it in here?
Of course.
It's not a loaded bowl, but you
now that I don't have to pee anymore.
Yeah,
I should have told you. You could just walk out whenever you want.
I was thinking about it. I was definitely on my way.
That is a fascinating thing, though, because in the type of, just in bands, period, and in the type of music that we play, it just so happens that musicians like quit bands a lot. We don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's the older that you get, the more, you're like, well, I could go to this other band and make more money there. They start doing things like that. Where was I going with this?
Well, just the choice to work for money versus like to work from passion is very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay, exactly. So on a couple of weeks ago, we had our friend Scott on the podcast, who's in a band called Fallujah, and we were talking about this. And it's like, when he looks for new band members now, he's looking for people who have been making music on their own forever without any, without it being a matter of success. They've just made music on their own, regardless of, because they love it. Because those are the people who are going to stick around in the band for the longest. Those are the band members that you can count on. Like, people who aren't, starting solo projects or doing things on their own or just making music for the love of it, and they're joining bands because I can make more money in this band, I'm going to get more famous in this band. Those are the people you want around, because you want people who are in it for the love of it. And in bands, it's even harder because we have to depend on, 4 or 5 other people rather than
creating an organism together.
Absolutely. Rather than it just being us depending on ourselves and getting ourselves through that, which can be a double-edged sword, because we have the team to go back to and, high five after a show and say, we fucking did it. But then we also have 4 other people that we have to make all of these decisions with. Yeah. So it's like in comedy.
We don't do that.
And it's just for us, it's the 2 of us.
We're a dictatorship.
Y'all are dictators.
It's a double. Yeah.
This ain't no fucking democracy, dude.
No, I can tell. You guys are fucking communists. You fucking Stalin worshiping pieces of
no, we're.
But to me, that is one of the hardest parts of comedy, is that I don't know how you are with your other comedy friends, but it's like you're never truly a team. Yeah. It's never true unless you're a comedy. What do they call that? Like a comedy
duo.
A duo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Is like, and I think about this all the time. Like I had a tough entry in stand up. I think like I came in like really like naive and ambitious and confident. And I remember when I first started comedy, there would be a couple of like old head comics who, there's like 2 in particular. It's really a trio, but they would heckle me during my set. Like they would play Bill Burr on the phone and hold it up. They would take the stool away whenever it was time for me to go.
Wait, the comedians would do that?
Uh-huh.
All right.
And they would give me a really, really tough time. And the whole time that's happening, I'm feeling this most intense feeling of injustice. Let me do my art, you bastards. And like, that's the gayest thing to say. So they would like rip me for that too. And I remember feeling this like very deep feeling of aloneness, injustice and aloneness. And whatever that was really a blessing for me, because it told me that there's nothing to cling to. It is just you.
Yeah.
It's just you, and it's just the audience, and everything else should burn away. And I don't think they had pure motives for being that way. I think they saw me as like all those people I've become friends with since then. But I remember getting in this huge fight. Like there was one time the host lit me early after like 60 seconds. They're playing Bill Burr and lighting me and took the stool, and it's like all this is happening to me.
They were hazing you.
Yeah. And I remember.
That sounds like fun, actually.
No, it did. No.
No. I'm not you.
To haze.
In this funny part, I'm not you. I'm the hazers.
To haze. Yeah. Yeah. So you do have some
I'm
evil.
Just kidding.
You do have some evil, Naveen. And
it's the metal.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me get it on that, dude.
But that's the thing, is like if it's in a loving way, it is very good. It's very transformative. But it was, anyway, I had that experience, and I remember like yelling after an open mic. I threw my shoe at the host. Like I was so pissed, and I was like, let me make my art. And like And I remember one of the guys like was mocking me, and I just like interrupted. And I go, I don't respect you. And I was like, I think you're afraid of my talent or some, just whatever the fuck. And I remember like it created this very alone feeling in me. And in that alone feeling, I had to like do it for a pure reason. I'm not doing this for friends. I'm not doing this for acceptance in this community. I'm doing it for the anonymous people that might show up and might love what I have to say. And whatever that was, it was like really, really good. But like eventually you want to create a camaraderie where it's, yes, we are all alone, but like it's almost probably how like battle buddies feel in the military. It's like you've been to war, like, which is so, I'm so sorry. It's comedy is not at all like war. It's way harder. And I'm kidding. It's about the same. But like when you're with like when you've been bombing on these shitty shows and you've been showing to the same Wednesday open mic that's dog shit, like eventually you develop this like camaraderie where it's like you guys together versus the world, and like that's a very good feeling. Yeah. Where it's like we're all just like mercenaries on mission in Afghanistan. But it is very alone. It's very like to yourself. But there is something where it's like, this is something that I really, really care about, is like I want to create an environment or a context in which we're all in on the lie. We're all working together in a cohesive way to like perpetuate this grand illusion that good comedy might happen. We're all shitty comics. None of us are good. Yeah. But like, woo,
you have to though.
Yeah.
You have to.
You want to create this like this experience, because only when you worship at the altar in that way might Zeus strike it with lightning. Yep. Like it's like sometimes at an open mic this will happen where the host will come up and start the show and he says, "Hey everyone, thanks for coming. Keep your head on a swivel. There's very unstable people here, and almost no one is audience. It's all comics. So don't die tonight. Your first comic of the evening is Thomas Leon." And you have to like work in that bleak environment. It's like you just told them to be scared. You just activated their nervous system. Like you just fucking turned up the dial on their fight and flight. And it's like that's the opposite of what you want. What you want is to be like, "Hello, everyone. We got
the hottest comic coming up. He's super
Nate
hot.
Pergazzi said he's coming. I don't know if he's coming, but he said he's coming. And we have really good drink specials. And this next guy, oh my God, he has this bit about queefing. I love it so much. You're in for such a treat. This is Kenyon Witchard." Like, if you create that environment, then like lightning might strike. And if lightning strikes, then we all get fed in a way. Yeah. And like that's beautiful, but it's not because it's fake supportive. It's not because it's like, oh, like let's just all clap for like trans rights. Yeah. It's not anything like that. It's true. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm in pursuit of, and that's the only thing. Like until I have enough like traction behind me to where I can just like go on shows and get good spots, it's like I'm just trying to survive. Yeah. And the only way is if there's good rooms, and we have a couple good rooms in town. We have a Friday room that's like really, really good. That's it's new. It's at Grandpa Bar, and even not that great comics crush there. So it's like really interesting.
That must be amazing.
It's kind of weird. Them. It's It's
the only time they crush is in that room. Why? Do you know?
It's because like I think comics are better than they get to experience in Nashville. Nashville's not a very loving place, unfortunately. And that's not to say that there's not like a core that is loving, but
wait, loving in like what, like in the comedy scene way, or just
like loving in a way that like it's like when you read about like the National Lampoon or SNL or the Comedy Store in the 80s, like there are these movements, these scenes where there was a fire that started, and the only way that fire starts is that people aren't trying to piss on it. Yeah. And a lot of times people get bitter and they want to piss on everything. And if they can piss on your fire, then their fire is less likely to be pissed on. And that's a bummer, but it's also like a problem of like economics in Nashville, where we have one main comedy club. It's an amazing comedy club. It's one of the best comedy clubs in the world, but spots are very, very limited.
Yeah.
And comics have worked for 10 years and don't get spots there.
At Zany's.
But they're about to open a second room, which is so exciting.
I'm doing a
really?
set there actually.
Yeah.
They asked me to do it.
Yeah, he
With
just
Big
got
J.
in right away.
I'm waltzing up in there real quick.
They heard about his drumming and they were like, all right, this guy's
I
in.
mean, this guy's got time. He goes a little quick, but
But so, is there an open mic night at Zany's?
no.
There's like a locals thing though, right? Like one night a week.
I think it's
something?
Mondays.
It's New Material Monday, and that's but the bummer is that like the bookers at Zany's don't really have a finger on the pulse of the best comics in town because they're busy running a money-making headlining comedy club
of
where
course.
Mark
Right.
Norman comes for 5 nights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
of
like
course.
their priorities are a certain way. But they're about to open a second room that's called The Lab that's going to be like showcases every night. And it's going to be an opportunity for like local talent to like really exist. But because that's what it is and has been for a while, there's like this like weird scarcity feeling where there's not enough spots, there's not enough food.
Yeah.
It's like a dirty
Yeah.
fish tank. When I go to Knoxville or Chattanooga, Memphis or Atlanta or really any other place I've been to, the comedy community seems like more loving and supportive because there's like 6 clubs.
Yeah.
Or there's no clubs. You either need like 4 clubs or no clubs.
Yeah.
right.
If there's just one, it's not good.
Yeah, for us it's like the opposite experience because there's like more venues than like
Than
bands,
anywhere.
you know?
Yeah,
So it's like,
for musicians, Nashville is the
we've had like
the
the
epicenter.
polar opposite.
As long as you're
experience.
good. You got to
Yeah.
be good, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's true.
Come on.
Yeah.
That is true.
You guys are good.
yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were just in a
Sad than bad
situation
music.
where we didn't have to move to Nashville in order to have a career because we already had a
Yeah.
career. We were already touring, and you know, Naveen's been playing in bands that have had careers for the past
It's
20 years.
metal bands now are internet based. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
how it is. You know,
That
like
too,
You can
that
do it.
too.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, we don't have to. Like, there isn't a place where we all go to play, and that's how we get chosen to
it's
be
like-
put on tours.
Yeah.
You know,
How do you reach out and you say, "Hey, we think we could sell this. We'll pay for the
No, we just get like
We have a-
emails like,
we have a
do you
booking
guys want to do
agent.
this tour?
we have a booking agent and a manager,
That's
and
amazing.
that's
Yeah.
how.
Or friends. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the time it's friends. Like we just know bands that
They say, "Hey, when you're in Milwaukee, come do this show."
no, they'll just be
No.
like, we're doing a headlining tour. We want you guys to come. It's
Oh,
like
Yeah.
That's the best.
30 shows, or we're gonna
Oh.
go to Europe. It's
What a
fucking
dream,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
do
it's
just
sick.
weekends, or you know, it's like well, there have been times like we just did some Christmas shows where we played 3 shows on the East Coast, and moving to Nashville from California has made that all more accessible for us because in California, like tours,
You're so far away from everything.
precisely. So here you can drive anywhere, but most of the time when we're working, we're on a 30-day tour here or in Europe, and that's the way that it operates. But we get those offers through a booking agent. Even if it's friends who are offering us the tour, they go through
Yeah.
our booking agent in order to get us on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
it's usually I mean that's like for our like scene. That's kind of like what you're trying to get to. Like you just get to this point where you just do tours basically.
Yeah,
Like, we don't
yeah,
even
yeah.
have like a band. It's just me and Cheney, and then
Yeah.
we get people to play with us for the tours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty much.
But it's also like there is this other element where we have a booking agent, and booking agents will get like this master list of tours that are going on, unless you are doing a headlining run, in which your booking agent will book all of the shows for you, find bands.
Yeah.
So there's like this master list of tours, and we will know about tours that are happening for like the next, year and a half, and we'll get submitted for those tours. But we get submitted with a handful of other bands, and it all comes down to like plays across the internet, how much you've drawn, how many CDs you sell, and that kind of thing.
Do you normally like the bands that you're out with?
It just
I usually
depends.
know them. Usually friends with them.
Yeah, we're usually
Really?
friends with them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It just depends. I mean, there are some bands that just. Are you talking about like on a personal level or on a? taste level?
I mean, I guess the personal. I
have to give you a political answer.
Well, when you
Great guys.
Yeah. You know, it's just like you aren't going to be best friends with every single person that you
Sometimes
meet
it's
in
just
this world.
business,
And
yeah.
sometimes the headlining band doesn't even really get off of their bus and like hang out with people.
I see. So there's not a lot of
Yeah, we're in a we
There
know
is a lot of camaraderie, but that's like
ton.
more rare.
There's a ton of camaraderie
Yeah.
and a lot of, you know, when you were talking about everyone's like all in this together and then we have bonds through that. Like if we're on runs, we're all living like this nomadic lifestyle that no one else, we're ghosts in every town that we go to. We're only in town from like 3 p.m. when we load in to 2 a.m. when we load out. So we like exist on the road with these other bands. And there is camaraderie that, you know, there's camaraderie that forms in that. And then that when we get home, it's hard to completely relate to people who don't understand the lifestyle.
Yeah.
So we are friends with a ton of band people, but like you don't make best friends with every single people. There are egos. Sometimes you will come across like the random person who's super egotistical. So, you know, you don't always like 100% get along with everyone, but you do make friends and come to like at least a couple people in every band.
And I would say even if you go into the tour and you may not like the music up front, like once you make friends with everybody, you're like, okay, I'm like, the music like grows on you because you like know the people. You know what I mean? Like it affects you for sure. So,
but also some bands suck, and or some bands aren't to your taste, and you aren't always gonna like or love every single band.
Pretty rare. It's pretty rare though that like we outright or like this band isn't good. You know what I mean? Like most of the time, you're like, even if it's not your thing, you're like they're a sick band. It's just like not what I would listen to on my own time.
Yeah,
you know, that's pretty much what happens sometimes.
I mean, we're lucky where most of the bands that we go and open for are super sick bands.
I know. Yeah. We're lucky because we're usually like what you were talking about. It's like we're most of the time like the smallest band on the tour, and we're touring with these fucking bands that are super pro, and they sound fucking amazing, and you know they have sick production, and so we're just like taking notes. Yeah, of course.
And we're inspired a lot of the time. Yeah, taking notes. It's like we've been lucky. We've surrounded ourselves also with people who are just like super sick musicians, luckily. And there are a lot of inspiring people, a lot of people to look up to when we go on tour.
I think in stand-up comedy, there's typically like a lot of like kind of jaded people where it's like they've been in the industry for 20 years. And they've eaten chicken tenders for 20 years. They've played these clubs for 20 years. Like, and their acts changed a little bit, but and they're just not like very happy in it. And then there's like some people who are on like a total like rip. Like AJ Wilkerson, who does the podcast with me, he's ripping so hard right now. Like he's about to put out a special. He gets booked all the time. He was out with Bert Kreischer for the Fully Loaded tour.
Oh, he was on the Fully Loaded?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's how did you watch the Carter Cruise episode with the porn star?
That's the one that I just listened to it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fun. But we were able to get her because she was on the Fully Loaded tour as like Bert's DJ. So AJ's been like connected to all this stuff, and he's like someone who's getting a lot of time, and he loves it so much. Like, and he's younger, so he's like getting to like really experience a lot, and to be around that is like very cool. Like he's always excited and shit. But I've been around people who are like when I first started, I was like a year in, I had video equipment, so I would like be able to record sets, and so headliners would take me out on the road with them to film for them, and I would get to do spots. So I'd get to host the show or do a guest spot. And it made me so much better as a comedian, because when you're in the open mics to like 4 people, you're like, I'm awful. No one's laughing. I'm bad at comedy. Like, if anything, I feel worse now. But then you get to go to a show like in Alabama to like 150 people, and like this joke that doesn't get any laughs at the open mic is like kind of crushing. And then you're like, oh, wow, like what is, like maybe this is true. Maybe I'm a really good comedian. And like you kind of like try and figure that out. But being on the road, one of the times I was with a comedian who was like so jaded and like so burnt out and like kind of just hated. We would drive like 12 hours to a gig, and he would smoke cigars in the car.
Oh God, yeah.
I know, dude. And
Who was this guy?
And I can't say.
Yeah, drop names.
No, I
It was
can't.
Groucho Marx.
And we will definitely
Or just
not
the
cut a
Cookie
clip of
Monster.
it.
No, but like I liked him a lot, and like I got to hang with him quite a bit, but like he would just have this like weird like protectionism like delusion of like his own like greatness. And like there's one time, and he would do really well. Like I really admired his like his ability to be comedic, but like I would learn so much from him too, because like he would do like cruises. He did cruises for like a few years, and he would have to do 2 different hours to 2 different crowds each night, and he had 30 minutes. And it was like, and he was like, I remember one time he looked at me and he was like, Thomas, I learned how to say anything that was funny. And like I knew he wasn't bullshitting me, you know. I knew that like he went to hell and had to do that for people who judged him. And like just it's almost like taking a fucking orbital sander to your face publicly, because he has to do 2 hours and he has 30 minutes. And he learned how to do it, and like so I would learn that stuff, and then he would say crazy shit like he'd be like, I am the next Elvis.
Was he schizophrenic?
I don't know, but I'm sitting there as his opener being like, I gotta agree with this guy. But
like you are actually.
Yeah, dude. No, I mean I remember that time I looked at him and I was like, yeah, that's a crazy thing to say. Like that's a really weird thing to say. Of course you're not Elvis. In his karate phase, maybe. Like, what are you talking about? What are you saying to me? Why are you making me have to agree with an insane statement? But
you know,
so
that's
it was just you 2 in a car.
Yeah.
See,
for like
that's the
12 hours.
fascinating
Yeah,
part, though, is
definitely
that
awkward.
we're never. I've come across jaded people on tour. Don't get me wrong, but there are 25 other people on the tour who I can
you got the
go
really,
and hang out
And
with.
you're with your
instead.
own crew.
Yeah,
so
you
it's
have your own crew. It's
You're
not
just like, that guy sucks. Like, fuck him. You know, like, we're not going to associate with
Oh
him
my
at all.
God.
yeah,
yeah, it was
and then we'll
fun.
have like group chats about that person or what, you know,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
They'll be the subject of the group chat, but it's not you and another person for 3 days. I don't know how long you guys go out on the road
Yeah,
for.
I mean,
at
the
a time.
longest I was out was probably like 4 days with him. Like, we did like this little tour from like Carolinas down to Florida to Alabama up to Nashville. That was so fun because like I was doing like 4 minutes a night at open mics to no audiences, and then all of a sudden I'm doing like 4 shows a weekend to 250 people each show.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I'm like a year in, like I'm doing some crazy jokes. Like I'm doing jokes that I will never say again, but I'm doing them to like strangers as this opener, and like they're kind of working.
Yeah.
They're not working in a great way, but they're kind of working. Like it was so fun. It was worth all the, you know, difficulty. I remember like he would smoke cigars in the car, and I would have like my little window cracked, and I would like lean this way and just go while he's like, I'm Elvis, huh? And I'm like, yeah. You're fucking Elvis, dog. You know, just fucking just doing whatever to survive. And like so grateful. And the whole time I'm getting those opportunities, the local scene is like, fuck Thomas. Like,
Yeah.
because I was getting opportunities. I was like getting shows and shit, and it made me better. Like it's stage time is the thing that feeds you. It's like rare candy in Pokemon. Like it's how you level up.
Well, so why haven't you guys like made your own nights? Why?
Some people are doing it. What do you mean make our own nights?
Okay,
Like,
so for
have
instance, if
shows?
there was nowhere for us to play, if we needed to play, we would just bombard a venue
Yeah.
and book bands. Like, you know, we'll play at places like that bar, like Twin Kegs or whatever. We don't, I mean, you know, we'll go play wherever.
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge because there's 2 different things that you could and probably should be doing. One is an open mic and another is a booked showcase. And a booked showcase is an easier sell where you say, all right, we're going to have 6 people on to do 10 minutes each, and we're going to try and get a crowd out for that. But you're going to do the same 10 minutes 2 weeks in a row at this showcase?
Yeah.
Or do you want a place where it's an open mic, where it's like there's going to be some homeless people saying some words for a little while, you know?
Totally. I guess there also is the thing with what we do with metal, which I can't speak to pop and all of the other stuff, but there is an underground scene. Like we can get people to come out to a metal show just because it's a metal show.
Yeah.
Does that exist in comedy?
Not in an indie way. Like there's a couple people who are like kind of good producers, good bookers. There's a lot of shows that don't get a lot of attendance, and like I used to book shows at Third Coast Comedy Club, and I sold out 2 of the 3 shows that I had put together there, and then the third show was like dog shit. It was like during some big sports match or something. But I remember being like, dude, I don't want to bomb a show. Like I don't want to have a 4th show and no one show up. And so I paused it and was like, I gotta find the perfect mix where something can get hot, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of energy. The Friday show a buddy of mine started. It's at a place called Grandpa Bar. It's Fridays at 6 p.m. But it's at Grandpa Bar, and Grandpa Bar is attached to this apartment complex, and it's early on a Friday, so people like kind of naturally come there to drink a little bit before they go do their other thing. And it's been almost sold out each time. Wow. And
that's
it's
here?
Yeah.
We should go.
Yeah, what part of Nashville is that in?
It's at it's in Marathon Village, so kind of like right by Marathon Music Works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a great location.
We're going.
Okay, please.
For sure.
So I'm doing a show there tomorrow, which I guess this is live. So if anyone wants to come out to that.
Someone in the chat recognized you, called you out.
Oh, did they say I'm a gay guy?
No. They know where you work.
Nadine's?
They said Fat Bites guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
I've heard of Fat Bites.
Oh, Fat Bites is this grungy little bar where sex crimes happen.
It's in Old Hickory,
no, I'm just
right?
kidding. They don't. Huh?
It's in Old Hickory, right?
It's in Donaldson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right by my house. So that's like the place after an open mic. I'll be drunk and like one more beer, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And they have pretty good food.
No, someone was like, dude, it's sick you have this guy on. He's the guy from Fat Bites.
Oh, that's
They're
amazing.
like, wait, you got...
That's hilarious.
Do you still work there?
I never worked there.
Oh, okay.
No,
You're
this
just the
person-
guy who goes to
Okay,
Fat
I
Bites.
just assumed you worked there, but he just said Fat Bites
Well, I
guy.
know
Bites, yeah.
because I've listened to your podcast quite a bit now. There are 9 episodes of it, right?
I don't know.
Okay, there are about 9 or 10, I think, if I'm right. But you talk about you're a waiter.
Yeah, I'm a server. I love it so much.
Where are you
I'm a
server?
server at a place called Nadine's here in town. It's like a diner. It's really like, the food's really good. It's like biscuits and gravy, chicken and waffles sort of shit. Like good egg dishes, hash browns, cinnamon rolls sometimes. But everyone gets fucked
I'm
up
hungry.
there. Everyone gets drunk. It's like you're drinking Bloody Marys and mimosas, and usually sports is playing, and we have a lot of regulars, and it's so fun. Like I'll get like a 6-top of like people who they partied the night before. They're just here for brunch and they keep the party going. And you're just doing stand up to them. You're like, hey guys, like, you know, whatever. And like, dude, like the type of interactions you can sometimes end up having is like where you'll be so insulting to the whole table. You're like, you dum-dums. And they're just like, oh, it's so much fun. But like, you're just playing with the energy of it. And then like, sometimes you'll get like this, like, I love the challenge. Like sometimes this guy will come in and he's like, he always wants a PBR and he wants a biscuit with butter. And then in about 15 minutes, he's going to want another PBR. And then 10 minutes after that, he's going to want extra crispy wings with a dry rub on the side with a side of ranch and Ringo sauce. And
Ringo sauce.
Ringo,
Ooh, that
dude,
sounds-
fucking Ringo
sounds
sauce.
pretty
Don't
good.
get the
I like
Ringo
sauce.
sauce is good, yeah. Woo.
Jenny loves her some sauce.
I love sauce.
You're a saucy gal?
Yeah, I'm just hella
love sauce.
saucy.
She's like
Good.
5 sauces.
Yeah, I'm a condiment kind of guy myself. Like I like good ranch or honey mustard. But
Thin red.
Not Hidden Valley.
no, of course not. Ken's is pretty good.
Ken's, is that a packet? I don't know Ken's.
I don't know. I just know that at one of the places I used to work, they served Ken's, and I was really into the ranch.
Okay.
there.
I like a thin ranch
Yeah.
Thin,
Thin
watery.
Western ranch is like thin.
and watery
Thin ranch
and very dilly.
It like
deli.
it's like
Y'all like
buttermilk.
buttermilk?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
buttermilk ranch.
Yeah.
People will come at
Sharper.
me. Yeah, people will come at me with Hidden Valley, and I'm like, you're not a ranch connoisseur, obviously,
I'm
if you're
so
talking about
surprised.
Hidden Valley.
I'm so surprised that this went to ranch. Like it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, but it's also
You thought it would go to babies and sacrificial stuff and to Satan, and it went to ranch.
Dude, I wish I want to go to a Satan party one time.
We'll take you to a metal show.
You guys, I want to go to like a Satanist like ritual or like as long as they're not actually killing babies.
I don't think they actually do that.
They don't actually kill babies.
No,
of course not.
I've been reading the Satanic Bible actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it pretty cool?
It's actually really cool.
Who's the Nephilim, or what's his name? The goat god?
Nisaphat. Baphomet.
That motherfucker rules.
Yeah, I love that.
I love
Baphomet.
He's all over merch.
Baphomet. Yeah.
Well, like that sort of imagery is so prominent in metal.
Yes.
Recently, I'm like, what's up with this satanic shit? I'm gonna fucking look into it, and I'm like, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Satanism is that it's all about like
free will.
It's all about taking control of your own life.
Yes.
Whereas religions, a thing that I dislike about a lot of religions, you give it away and you're putting the blame on someone else, and
very flaccid.
So it's pretty antithetical to like the popular religions, which say like, you're just a meat shell and you should give up this life to go to heaven or whatever.
Yeah.
And be subservient.
But
the Satanism approach is like, there is nothing else. This is what we got.
Like you're in heaven.
Like you need to use your will to like make your life sick.
Yeah, I like that. And they also have orgies, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, right? So they say like you should just indulge in the things that are natural to you. So like if you're an orgy guy, you should be doing orgies. Yeah. And if you want to be married, then you should probably be married, which is like I agree with that. Like that's not. Each person has to determine what is right for their own life.
Whereas
and how they're going to thrive, instead of feeling guilt for whatever you're into. And then the repression it results in like, we see it in society play out.
I think about that all the time. The idea of the repression, like, I grew up Christian, so there was an immense amount of like repression.
Strictly Christian, like strict Christian.
Yeah,
what kind?
We have a resident Christian. It's
Harrison.
You fucking sicko.
He grew up in a Christian.
Yeah. You left it though. You found the way out.
Yeah. Well, he's into metal now. We do have Christian metal though, so that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Some of it's pretty
sick,
good, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure
pretty
like,
sick.
Musically, like someone who would be a Christian and metalhead probably could be very technically proficient, but it's just like a weird.
It's like Christian
mix.
comedy, probably.
It's like sugar-free desserts. Yeah. Like, I know, I get it. It's good.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, they're good. Fine.
It's not sinful.
No, I want to be sick afterwards.
But what kind of Christian?
I grew up something called Church of Christ. So it was.
Harrison, are you familiar? No.
Okay. So two.
Harrison
things.
doesn't recognize this.
Yeah. So is it real Christian? We don't know.
Don't yuck my yum, brother. So Church of Christ was like really conservative. Like women couldn't have any sort of position in the church. We didn't have instruments in worship. We thought all the other religious groups were going to hell. Like if you were Baptist, you were like misguided. Right. And it was very conservative and like very so like
every
fearful.
Other religion, pretty much.
Yeah, we were very But before that though, I grew up like almost like Pentecostal. My mom, I was adopted into the Church of Christ family and was kind of going to that church for a little while before that. But my like roots were like Pentecostal, where my mom would like put Bible verses all over the walls and like would like anoint us and like would talk about demons and shit. I remember being so scared. That's probably why I was a little afraid of like metal. It was like I was taught that they were conjuring the evil spirits, that when I went to bed at night, I was like, I'm pretty sure I saw one, I was very,
Well, Christians did the same thing to scientists, so.
That's true. Yeah. Science is terrifying.
I read that in the Satanic Bible. By the way.
Really? Yeah. What did it say?
Well, it's like saying the idea of Satan, like what that is. Like they made up the idea that it's like this devil guy with horns or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's in the same way that they demonize the concept of like being an adversary, like being your own power.
Yeah.
They demonize that concept in the same way that, 200 years ago, they would say somebody who was into science was a witch and, burn or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it just still, according to the Satanists, it has the same connotations as what that might have had 200 years ago. It's just,
I'm so
we're not
fascinated.
there yet.
I'm so fascinated by. I was thinking about that today, of like how even the most rational people groups will have like deeply irrational beliefs.
Yeah.
So it's like you could see some guy be like making a speech about like back in the day about like vaccines and like pathology and like bacteria and viruses and shit, and he's like, is at the end of this like deeply informative and enlightened scientific talk, and at the end he goes, and for that reason we should burn the witch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah. I know,
What?
I know. Yeah.
It's like, how'd you get there? You know,
And
like,
I mean,
everyone has that.
Definitely. I find that like you have to check yourself on that kind of stuff. Like,
Always.
am I believing in something that's like totally fucked?
But you got to find a balance, because
Yeah.
to overly question is like neurotic.
Yeah. 100%.
There's nothing more flaccid than neurotic.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I would rather someone like ruin their lives and end up in jail than like a neurotic guy who can't decide anything.
Well, I was actually thinking about that. I was actually, well, no, not that, but I was thinking about.
Just for the response to you, I was actually thinking about that. It's hilarious. That's
I was
so funny.
thinking about how you can't be overly logical and rational, because then your life would probably suck. Like to take the leap to be, I'm going to be a comedian. I'm going to be the one out of a million comedians that does it for a living.
Totally irrational.
What a haunt.
Yeah, and the same with like, you know, I'm telling my mom when I'm like 12, like I'm going to be actually, I'm not going to ever do anything with my life other than be a death metal drummer, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to, if I was to just be purely logical and like work out the equations and like look at the evidence, it's like, I'm never doing that, you know? But that is something that I was so attracted to that I'm just like, I don't fucking care what happens. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
You know? And I think like, I guess that's the level of like faith that I think is appropriate to have in one's life.
I love that. I love like, I've thought about that a lot. Is like when you make a choice to step in a certain direction, all of life responds and creates the path that you walk.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you know, whether you, and that's the danger of manifestation, is like, you can be like, yeah, I can teleport things. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, goddamn, that's scary. You think that, but like, for the most part, like, when you orient yourself a certain way, when you put yourself, and all you're doing is like training your perspective. Like, you're training your perspective to see. It's like, I have friends who see 444 everywhere, and it's like they see it all the time. Like, they're always posting. I'm like, how do you catch it that often? But like what you see is what you're open to, and what you're open to is what you become. And like, so there's this certain like idea that like, because you said that one morning to your mom or whatever, it's like you kind of like moved just even an inch towards that, and now there's this gravity pulling you deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah,
and deeper.
Absolutely.
And like, and then
Definitely.
eventually you'll look back and you'll be like, of course, this is so natural to who I am.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's what you became along the way.
Yeah.
And that's like both, that's what I said at that quote of like if you know what you're going to be, invariably you'll become it, and that's the curse. And if you never know, and if you move around, it's like you'll never become anything, and that's a blessing. And so it's like in that whole process, like just try and hold it like as loosely as you can. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
guess.
And like, I think, so I think for people that are overly rational or overly logical, like sometimes you have to just say like, I'm going to be this thing. But in the process, you kind of get an identity, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like for me and Cheney and like Harrison, like literally everybody I know is because of this like journey that I went on.
Yes,
like,
and that's beautiful.
yeah. And like, so, and I always say, especially on the podcast, I always say like, what we've done musically and like career wise or whatever is like totally secondary to the life that I've got out of it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And it's like,
100%.
yeah, I just any scene you go into, you're gonna get that, you know. And like, humans are very pack animals, so it's like getting that human connection is like way better than all the rest of it.
Yeah, I feel that with the open mic scene and like comedy in general, is like the whole thing is fun. Like I always say this is like, even when it's bad, it's good.
I said that too.
Like, like even when
like pizza.
like tonight sucked. Yeah, it's exactly like pizza. Life is pizza. Sex is pizza.
You're talking to a guy who's got multiple pizza tattoos. So.
That's true. Pizza. But yeah, that's it sounds like woo woo or spiritual or whatever the fuck, but like I feel so much gratitude for like just the unfolding of it all, and like the more unattached you can be, the more full of love you can be, the more full of wonder and awe and gratitude, like the richer the unfolding. I was just this is why I'm in this mode. One of my buddies posted the David Wallace Foster. He wrote Infinite Jest, but he has this talk called it's a commencement speech called "This Is Water." Have you heard that at all? I'll send it to you guys afterwards.
Yeah, please do.
There's probably
link in description.
Yeah, but it's this commencement speech where he talks about you'll go throughout life. You students never have known the tedium of life. The tedium of life is found when you're 40 years old and you're going to the grocery store because you have to. After a long work week, you realize you have no groceries at the house and you can't go out to eat again, so you have to go get your groceries. And on the way, all rush hour is in the way to this grocery store. You get there and there's a long line because everyone else has foregone their groceries, and you pick it out and you get it scanned by this woman who's moving so slow, and then you get in your car and there's this huge gas guzzling SUV blocking your exit, and just this is day after week after month after year, and this is the life that you realize that you have. And then he says, but I encourage you to suspend your certainty that that's what it is, and instead be filled with wonder at the unfolding of everything. That like maybe the man in the SUV was in a terrible car crash and he's terrified to go out, and the SUV is the only way he feels safe in this world. Maybe the lifeless woman who's scanning your groceries is on this journey of the most tedious life you can imagine, and you should have such gratitude that you don't have to live that way, and it's just this like shift in perspective about like how, and the way the whole speech starts is like there's a story about like these two young fish are swimming in this lake, and an old fish passes by and goes, man, isn't the water nice today? And the two baby fish, the adolescent fish, look at each other and they go, what the hell is water? Yeah. And it's just remember, it's all water, that this is water, this is water, this is water. Because it's like there's so much stress. Like because we have the internet, we have windows into a million different creatives, a million different egos saying, I'm going to be great. And most of them are not. Like that's just the reality. Is most of them are pretending at it, and they feel... And the pretending is that pressure, is that fucking whatever that thing is that's like, I have to do this or else. Yeah. Because I've said I'm going to do it, I have to do it or else. And like, maybe you might do it, but either way, you're not going to enjoy yourself. Yeah. The best way is to like love what you're doing and be aware in it and let time move slowly and drink it in.
I agree. I think people fold under that pressure as well. Like you'll see... I mean, with the posting videos on the internet thing, people start to view it as something that they're forced to do, or they just view it as that from the beginning. Yeah. Whereas Naveen and I will talk to each other about this. Like, even with making videos, even though that's totally like not really a part of what we signed up for, you just have to tell yourself, even if you don't love it, tell yourself you love the process, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to see yourself doing that for years and years to come. Yeah. Is to tell yourself you love it and then fall in love with it, even if you don't from the beginning. Because if you don't love something, you're going to view it as a burden and you're going to stop. So you'll see people make a ton of videos. They might even go viral, but they don't love doing it. So they stop, and it stops the momentum. Yeah. But you don't want that to happen. You just want to be in love with the process. Yeah, that's really it.
And I think like whatever you find, like you have to find what that love is, and like hopefully you're not doing something where you're like, God damn it, I gotta do this. Like
you shouldn't do that.
As a comedian, I feel aware of a pressure to do sketches. I feel aware of a pressure to be funny on the internet. Like feel a pressure to be funny on a podcast. Like those little things cross. And anytime I'm on a podcast and I'm thinking I better be funny, I'm not fucking funny.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not fucking funny.
Totally.
So it's like the pressure works against you, and it's forcing a truthfulness in all of it. So if you have to post videos because like the industry demands it or whatever, hopefully there's like one aspect or facet of it that you're like, I really actually like editing.
Yeah,
That's
find
And
something
then just
to
be the
love.
editor on the video.
Yeah,
and like,
find something you love
Absolutely.
about it.
find something you love.
100%. That's what's so cool about all of this stuff. Even though none of it is stuff we signed up for. You know, when I started screaming, I wasn't like, I'm going to make a podcast one day and then I'm going to love that. There are things you find to love along the way and they help you with other things. So because of the podcast, now we know a bunch of stuff about videography.
Yeah.
We know more about photography. We know a lot about lighting.
Light
It just
good on this. Y'all did a good job.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. But you know, it's
Amazon.com.
that's right. $50. But that is one of the things, like, even if you don't love something at first, it can unfold things that you do love if you just stick with it a little bit.
I remember like, and like a lot of times when I talk to people that find out I do stand up, they're like, how'd you get into stand up? And it's not like that I was like, I was 4 years old and wanted to do stand up. It's not, I didn't feel that way towards it. I always felt drawn to irreverence. I always felt drawn to language. I felt drawn to humor, but I never saw myself doing it. Like, I arrived at the idea of, whoa, I could try that and do that through the pursuit of like trying to express myself. Like I was very into philosophy for a while. I wanted to like find truth, and in the pursuit of truth, I was like, well, it's really just all aesthetic. It's how things, the integrity of the experience of something. You walk into a home and there's a nice table and good couch and like these really cool soft lamps and the smell of incense. You're like, oh my god, this is a good spot. Like the aesthetic of things. And then I was
Thank
like,
you, by the way.
oh yeah. Yeah, I was picturing my own home actually. You fucking, there's a cat box right here.
Actually, that's
It
usually
normally
yeah,
is.
It's normally right there. We take it out when guests come over.
We do.
Lord told
For
me.
the podcast, we clean every week.
But my point is like I always wanted to express something. I really cared. Like I grew up around a lot of pain and a lot of shadow and a lot of darkness, and I'm attuned to that. And I feel like the way through to connection is through softening the experience. And we live in this like hyper connected world where everyone's at each other's throats and everything's so serious. Everyone has to figure it out. I got to figure out how to be. We have to figure out what's right about Israel. We got to figure it out. We got to figure it out. I got to figure it out. And it's like I did pottery for a while. I did woodworking. I studied acting. I studied directing. I studied film and video and all that shit. And it's like, it's all in the pursuit of like saying something. And then I went to an open mic at stand up and I was like, I could just go up there and say it. All the shit I'm doing to say it, I could just say it. Like I could I could just get into the mode of talking, and then it taught me everything. It was like it was not that I knew I wanted to speak Japanese. It's that I listened to Japanese and I was like, that's so beautiful. And then I was like, I want to learn Japanese so that I could speak beautifully. And that's what stand-up was. And then like now it's 3 years in and I'm like, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah.
And like so many people live their whole lives not finding something that they love.
That's insane. Yeah, it's insane to me.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. So the whole thing is gravy. The whole thing is extra. Like Bill Burr had this to say, and we should probably close it at that. But because I have to pee again.
Me too. Swords.
Bill Burr had this thing to say where like he worked this like shitty like sandwich job or something, and he had to drive like 40 minutes to this gig, and he went and did this gig for $15, and he had a set, and one of his jokes he was working on finally worked the way he wanted it to, and he came back and he said that night fueled me for 6 weeks. And he goes, I went to my shitty little job smiling and whistling because I knew I was doing something that I loved. And his girlfriend saw it. His girlfriend was like, you do all this work just to have that one night, and you're so happy, you're so inspired. And it's like, that's the whole thing. That's the whole fucking thing, because so many people end up successful and they've never felt that feeling.
Yeah,
I would rather
Yeah.
feel that feeling the rest of my goddamn life and never make any money from it.
100%.
So,
I
and
absolutely
that's
agree
how
with
I
that.
know I'll be okay.
Yep.
Isn't that the weird irony? Is
Yeah,
like
it's
that's how
armor.
you know you're okay.
Armor. It's like,
armor.
I'm good to go because
Yeah.
I got my thing that
It feels
I can sustain myself off of no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That's fucking
It's
shit.
absolutely beautiful. Before
Alright,
we go,
well, we'll leave it there.
plug all your stuff. Tell
Yeah.
everyone where to check
Okay,
you out.
So I'm Thomas Leon. My Instagram is probably the most important one. It's Thomas Leon Comedy.
Catch them at Fat Bites. Every
Your
once in a while.
Yes,
podcast. Yeah.
I run a podcast with a much more advanced comic than I right now. AJ Wilkerson. He's been out with Bert Kreischer, and he shakes on stage, and he has autism and ADHD and a couple of other viruses. But he's so fucking funny, and I and a new comic to town, Sydney Stevens, run this podcast. We've had famous Austin comics on. We've had a porn star. We've had local comics here in town. It's so fun. So tune into that. That's called What in Tardation
We'll
on
link it.
YouTube.
We'll link
Yeah,
it.
we'll link it. It's really
Yeah.
good. I've listened to
It's so
almost every
fun.
episode at this point.
It's so fun, and I'm so grateful that we get to do that. And then I'm just in town doing shows. So if you follow my Instagram, I'll post all the shows that I'm doing. So if you want to come out, and I'm a decent comic, but there are so many really, really good ones. So if you like comedy at all, and you thought like, oh, I want to see Thomas, you could come out and watch me, but you'll get plugged into like the larger scene, and there's really good.
Look at that humble
stuff
too.
happening.
Humble guy right there.
I mean it. I'm funny
He's,
once.
he's,
I would
hum-
never
he's
say
humble
something
for
like
the
that.
love of it.
I know that you're gonna come out for me, but it's like the second time you're seeing me, you're gonna be like, I heard that joke. So there's a lot of good comics in town too. So come out to that.
Wonderful. All right, check all
we'll
that
probably
stuff
hang
out.
in the post show. I don't
Yeah.
know. Are you gonna hang for a minute in the post?
I'm actually supposed to. Yeah, I'll hang for a little bit.
All right, no
All
problem.
right.
If you gotta go, it
Yeah,
doesn't
even if
matter.
you have to go do a
Okay.
set or whatever.
Either way, we'll be here hanging.
Yeah.
We'll see
All
you
right,
motherfuckers
everyone.
next
Have
week.
a great week. We love you guys. Thanks for hanging.
Peace.
Bye. Yeah, I gotta piss again, and then I'm supposed to.